and welcome everybody. I hope you have a wonderful weekend in the seminar. And yeah, so I guess I teach quite a lot of people how to use RadarOpus. So I've kind of like gleaned from my experience what areas of the program maybe people need more help with. And one of the things that I have seen is that when you're just using RadarOpus with the English language, there's a lot of things that you can get rid of in terms of what the table of contents is showing you in particular. So I'll just give you a brief tour of the layout of the program. The table of contents is here on the left, and it changes what it's showing you depending on which icon you press in this first section of the program. Okay. So here I'm looking at the references, and here I see the repertories, for example. Now, there's a few sort of ground rules. Basically, anytime you see this Hog Wheel, it means there's some settings that you can change. Okay, you see it here in the table of contents, and over here in the content area, which is displaying here synthesis Adonis. Okay, so what we do, if you're just using English and you get like a demo, what you'll see is that there's lots more documents and they'll all have flags. So if I put it back to how it is normally when you first receive the program, it looks more like this if you get the demo and you see all the languages. And of course, then if you're using it in a multilingual way, you need to see those flags and those languages and those checkboxes and everything. But it means that there's a lot there. And it's kind of overwhelming. There's too much. So the way to remedy that situation is to click here on the cogwheel icon. Now you'll see that within this preferences pane, there's like 3 little tabs here. If you go to languages first, and then deselect all, and then just select English, okay? Now there's literally no need to see the flags displayed. You know, and you're from America, so you don't want to see a Union Jack flag there for English either. So let's untick this option, and we don't need to see that anymore. Also, you don't need to see the document abbreviation unless you're like you know, Frederik and myself and the kind of internal team. We learn to use, you know, BG11 for bogus general analysis. Yeah, but you don't need to see that particularly, so you can untick that. You can choose whether or not to see the icon. And the selection boxes you only really need if you're going to create for yourself a document mix, which there are videos on how to do that. It's probably not something I'll go into today. Okay, so then it becomes a bit neater. You can also say authors, whether you want to display them or not. So you can have them after the main title of the repertory, like that, or you can have them in front of the document title. This is more how it goes when you first receive the program. So I have them there, or I just don't display them because I know the names of the authors. So that's up to you. But what that does is it just makes everything a bit sort of tidier. There's not so much information to look at. And then typically what I do when I open the program would be to type the first letters of Adonis, get it up there and click on this little arrow. And then I see the chapters there. Now, what I've done there is by using an external mouse, if you hold down the control key on Windows or the command key on Mac and use your middle scroll wheel, you can zoom in or out on any particular part of the software. And that means you can make the icons a little bit bigger. So now it becomes very easy to just move into the different chapters with your table of contents open. So just a single click and it updates that. Okay, so I just need to quickly do that. Sorry, apologies. There we go. Cool. Sorted. Okay, so the same like approach rings true when it comes to the Materia Medica. So you click here on the icon, and then you click here on the cogwheel, and then you go through the same process. You deselect all the languages, just tick English, go back to display, and then you can, have a little play here. You can have the references sort, alphabetically by the name of the author or by the name of the, the title itself. If you click here on this tab, sorting, you can change the order so it goes from Z to A. And I quite like that because it puts all the Vermeulen Materia Medica up at the top. And I use his Materia Medica a lot. So that is my preference there. The other thing that you can do now in version 3 is select your favorites. So if I click here, you see the checkboxes reappear. And in this box, it's telling me these are the favorites that I already selected. So what that means is that when I open a remedy by double clicking on it, it will show me the keynotes based on my chosen favorites of Materia Medica. And then I get a little drop down screen here where I can choose very quickly. So when you're differentiating remedies in your analysis, it's now become very, very fast to quickly scan through your favorite Materia Medica in any remedy that you choose. Sometimes, it's not there, but, now it's so fast to quickly compare different Materia Medica sources. So, yeah, there is a video available on how to create your favorite Materia Medica. And if you want, we can get that link for you and you can watch that video. So here I just need to untick the selection boxes again. Okay, there are some other kind of really useful tips that you need to know about RadarOpus. One is that double clicking on a tab opens and closes the table of contents. So this is what we call a tab, and each tab has its own little icon which matches the corresponding icon at the top here. So you see remedies and keynotes match. The repertory icon here matches. So if I double click there, you see the table of contents just collapses, and double click again, it expands. So that is the fastest way to quickly see the full screen view of a repertory. Okay, I see a question there. Yeah. Okay, and the other thing is that right click is your friend. So if you right click anywhere pretty much in RadarOpus, you'll see the options that are available to you. So let's say I right click on Apis. You can see the menu appears and it tells me, okay, you can search for this remedy in a variety of different places within the database, or I can open the keynotes. And these are actually to do with the editing tools in Synthesis. You can also open the Groots module, which shows you an energetic picture. So looking at hyper and hypotonicity of muscles and looking at meridians. So if you do body work as well, that could be a useful tool for you. But if you right click on a rubric, you see all the different options. If you right click, basically anywhere, you'll see what the program can do. If I right click on a clipboard, you'll see all the different options that you have there. Okay, so if in doubt in the program, just right click on anything and you'll see what is available to you, what operations. Okay, in terms of like the global settings of the program, if you're a Windows user, you click on Tools and then Options. If you're a Mac user, it's you just press Command and comma. So it's that's the standard shortcut to open it. And here you can set some of your own preferences, like it's useful to up the default font size to 16, especially when you're using the navigation window, which I will show you. And you can see other things. You can select the font that you like. And one of the things I change here is normally the program starts like this. So to open up a remedies keynotes, you would normally have to double click, but you can change that to a single click here. Or if you want to open a cross-reference or a link, or open a remedy in the analysis. So I changed all of those across to a single click, just because it's a little bit less effort. Over here in the patient setup, you can change things in the consultation, such as the font, the size, the color when you add grading to a particular chunk of text, and some other settings here. So it's useful to go in here and kind of change how the patient file is working for you if you're going to use it. And I'm going to give you a case example to show you how powerful using the patient file can be and how useful. Okay, so those are the general options. When it comes to the repertory, so what we've got here is the content area showing full screen, showing Synthesis Adonis. Up here is your settings pane. And again, you see that 3 little tabs appear when you open that. So you can have a look at this in your own time, but often people will, change something and then not know what they've done. So it's good to really take some time and familiarize yourself with what the different options are here. So if I select this one here, remedies and authors, you can change the way the remedies are displayed, like I have here, to descending degree, which means that when you get to, a rubric, let's go for a generals, compulsions. You can see here all the bold ones are showing first, and then all the italic, and then all the plain. But the default is to have it like this, ascending abbreviation. So I often change it here to descending degree. You can even, have it so that it only displays the bold underlined remedies. And you can also here get rid of the families completely. Don't display families. So if you prefer to have a more classical approach and you don't want to see families, that's how you do it. But I like to see them at the top, personally. So one of the things we strive to do is to, make the software work for you the way you want it to. One of the things I often see is that people say, oh, my cross-references have disappeared. That's probably because you hit this button by accident. Okay, that is the tags. And over here, sometimes they say, where are my remedies gone? And it's because you press spacebar by accident, usually. So you can either click this icon, which shows or hides the remedies in the repertory, or you can press the spacebar, and the spacebar cycles through the different options. So one option is just to see the remedies, the other is to see all the authors, and the other is to see none at all. Now, one of the reasons why you would do this is because quite often we have a high capacity for bias in our approach. And if you have an idea of what you think the remedy should be for the patient, you choose a rubric, but your remedy is not there, you might then have a bias against that rubric. So you can eliminate that problem by not showing the remedies at all. So it's actually a useful tool.
Hey, Luke, just a question came in. What is
Nice.
the meaning of remedies where there is a strike through line through the remedy?
That's refers to a correction where the remedy was included in the past, but it was then researched and found that it was incorrect. Is that right, Frederik?
Yeah, and they have been left there because how shall I say, it's not obvious that it is a correction. Like there is this famous example of alumina in the rubric Forsaken, and the people told us again, hey, there is a mistake, put it again. And so we've left it now with the strike through to say, no, it's not a mistake to delete it. So the reason that we leave the remedy with the strike through is to make sure you understand this is a correction, correct correction.
Nice. Very good.
A correct correction, meaning, I just want to confirm, it was previously included, thought to be correct, and then once reviewed in the future, it was considered to not be listed under that rubric anymore. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's it. Yeah. So one of the really nice things about Synthesis, Adonis, and since version 3 is seeing the synonyms straight after the the rubric. This is a really nice feature, especially if you're new to homeopathy and you don't know that for someone who's complains of loneliness, that the correct term is forsaken, harking back to the Kentian era. So if you were to type in loneliness in your search bar, press enter twice, you would find loneliness and there wouldn't be remedies, but you would be taken to the correct location, forsaken feeling. And not only is that useful, it's also when you look at this, this term with all of the synonyms afterwards, it kind of adds to the your understanding of what the rubric means. And you can also look at the notes that are in the in synthesis. So from Adonis here, which is a wonderful book on the meaning of mind rubrics, they're included here in synthesis. And then, of course, you can see the families that are there. And in our latest version, you can actually see all of the constituent sort of remedies of a particular family just by hovering the mouse. They show up here, which is very nice. So yes, you can also, another reason for, just kind of hiding the remedies is that you then get to see the cross references more easily. And, with such a rubric like this, there are many cross references. And there are other neat tricks you can do. So you see this button here, you might not use it. Normally people drag and drop the rubric, but this button here does the same thing. It will take that rubric into my clipboard. You see, there it is. Okay, so basically what I've got now going on in the program is several tabs going. So you can see analysis, keynotes, search, repertory. And they've all got the little icon which corresponds with the ones at the top to make it easy for you, okay? The other thing you can do is click on window and it shows you all of the windows that you have open. Okay, so if I go back now into the repertory view and using this take button, you see the drop down arrow, choose the option at the bottom, and then that opens this window, which I've got, because I'm using two screens, it pops up on my other screen to start with. So this one pops up. One of the really nice things you can do in RadarOpus is take all of the cross references, and I'm going to take them into clipboard 2. So I'll untick clipboard 1. And you can take them all individually, or you can combine them depending on what you want to do. In this case, I just want to study what it looks like when I take all of those cross references and make a sort of like meta-analysis of, this idea of forsakenness and all of its allied synonyms, cross references. So what I always do here is get them back into order. So I right click, sort by ascending order. And you can see straight away, that's interesting, that the milk remedies have come up first, followed by Pulstilla, Hura, Carcination. So it's just an interesting thing to do for your own learning, because it will show you the remedies that are most featuring in this particular state. It will also highlight lots of interesting rubrics that you might not have known about. So then you can double click and go into the, sort of drop into the repertory at that point, show the remedies, and you'll start to get a feel of, okay, who are the characters that are playing in this particular, state, the remedies like being like characters. Then I go back to the analysis and I can see, okay, what else do I want to look at? Delusions, it's despise, see the leprosy, miasm, that's interesting. So then what you could do is right click on the leprosy, miasm as a family and search for it in all documents and see what you find. So most of the results are in synthesis Adonis. And so you see some of the symptoms there, the remedy. So it's that fast to kind of just change gears in RadarOpus and move from, working on a case or looking in the repertory to researching a miasm through a kind of reverse repertorization, just with a few clicks. And I think that's one of the real advantages of the software, the way that you can, everything's linked, in other softwares that I've used, you can't just like double click here and it drops you straight into that rubric. It's just, it's not thought about in that way. So that's one of the things I love about it. Let's see.
Hey,
yeah,
Luke,
so go on.
We just had a question. If you could just kind of repeat what you were doing one more time so that everyone could review that.
Okay. I don't remember what I was doing. No, I'm joking. I was showing you how to take a rubric with all of its cross references. That was the thing, wasn't it? It's a nice little trick So let's do it again with this rubric. So I'm going to change the active clipboard here, and you can do it by holding the Alt key and clicking on a clipboard. Okay, you see the tick move? Okay, so I've got a fresh clipboard to work in. Another nice thing about RadarOpus, if you have the the diamond package, you get to use 12 clipboards, which allows you to work in this quite free-flowing way. Okay, so here we have another rubric with lots of cross references. So I'll do the same thing. Rather than just clicking the take button, I'll click the drop-down arrow, which gives me the options. The keyboard shortcut is F6, by the way, so it's even easier than that. You just hit F6 on your keyboard. If you have a laptop, sometimes you have to tell the laptop what you want your function keys to do, because they're automatically assigned to do things like screen brightness. So, just research what you need to do to flip that around on your computer. Yeah, because otherwise you have to hold down the function key and then press the F keys. Okay, so you've got this menu up now. This shows you all the things you can do when you're taking a symptom. So down here, I select cross references. And for this purpose, I'm just going to take them all individually. Click take. Why is that not working? There we go. Okay. And then they have dropped into my third clipboard. There they all are. Then what I do is right click and click on sort, and then ascending homeopathic order. Then you can see, yeah, a very different group of remedies coming up here to do with the theme of being antisocial or not wanting company. Company aversion to would be the kind of, the Kentian rubric, the fundamental note, if you like. And all of these are kind of much smaller ones related. Okay, so that's it really. But what you can do, you can see you've created a analysis with 744 remedies. Another thing you can do, which I learned from Frederik, is to be more specific about which cross references you take. So company aversion to, okay, I think I'm going to take quiet wants to be, and not suspicious, maybe disturbed being aversion to. Okay, and what I've done there is just to hold down the control key, because I'm on Windows, or if you're on a Mac, hold down the command key, and then you just click on whichever cross references you want to take. So let's say we'll take this one too. So then you see the green tick, then all you do is drag that in to your clipboard. So this is if you were working in a case rather than sort of researching. And then you see they've all been assigned the letter A, which is the the symbol to show that they're functioning as a group rather than as 4 separate rubrics. If I were to do the same thing with another symptom, I'll go to reserved, do the same thing. So hold down control, take introspection and aloof as well, and drag those in. You'll see now they've been assigned the letter B, because the program knows I've already got one group. So it does the work for you of grouping, which is a very, very nice feature that allows you to be a bit more expansive with your, especially with mind rubrics, where there's a lot of crossover in meanings.
Hey, Luke, we have someone who's following along and they're mentioning that they're not able to see all of the cross references. Is there a way to bring them back?
Yeah, you see this icon here? That is to do with tags. So the tags include things like synonyms, flags, veterinary, symbols, cross references. So it might be that they've switched it off here inadvertently. So you can see that icon there, show the tags. You can just click it on or off. Okay, and if it isn't that, click the drop down arrow next to it. And this option, select which tags to show or hide. This opens the main preferences of the program. And you can then go down, down, down. And you see here, hyperlinks. If it's not selected here, then it wouldn't be showing. It needs to be selected there. It should be selected there, to be honest. So the most likely thing they've done is switch this off by accident. Okay. So, yeah. Okay. Okay, there are other things you can do. This is the navigation window. This is a lovely part of the program, especially when you're a learner, because I've seen people, you know, I teach as well, and I've seen people who are using programs that don't have such a nice navigation tool, and all they do is search. They just type in the word they're looking for, and they never get to really learn the, you know, this is like leafing through the book when you use a repertory this way. And it's nice in RadarOpus because you can just start typing. You don't even have to click here. You just start typing the chapter you want to go to. So it's generals. I type GEN and then it opens and I press enter and then I go. And then I could go to a symptom by typing again. So just type 2 letters and it takes me to where I want to go. And then you can look through all of the sub-rubrics. So one of the things that makes this navigation window easier to use is by upping your font size in the main options, and then it makes it a bit bigger here. But if you use the external mouse, hold down the control key, and then you can zoom in a bit more if you're struggling with how small it is. So I found basically Synthesis Adonis includes like links throughout the database, and that is an amazing feature, but it also made it a little bit sluggish with the navigation window unless you do the following things. So turn off show number of remedies, and that's the main thing, because it used to show tags as well, and we stopped that, and now, so if you turn that off, it will become just as fast as it used to be, and you don't really need to see the number of remedies here, because once you go in, so you click on the rubric, sub-rubric, and then click on go to, and then you'll see how many remedies are there anyway. That's it. If I type M, enter, I'm in the mine section. And then I can type DELU, go to delusions. So you see here, there's a bookmark as well. So bookmarks are a really handy way to zip around the program as well. And I'll show you why. If I click on bookmarks up here, I've got some that I made. So if I want to go to the start of the mine section, I can double click there. Or if I want to look at issues to do with heat, such as someone who is warm-blooded or doesn't have enough vital heat, I can just click here. So there might be some particular rubrics that I use often, and I can just zip around by double clicking on my bookmarks. So how do you create one yourself? So let's just open the stomach chapter, pain, and it is on the, it's in the forenoon, burning, for example. Okay, so what you do is right click on that symptom where the hand is pointing, go to bookmarks, add a bookmark. What you can do as well is if you click on any one that's from Adonis, click and then do Control C, you can copy and paste the first part of it and then replace it with, you know, stomach pain burning just by typing, and then click on save. Now this has a bookmark and it will be grouped with my Adonis symptoms. So here it is. And you can make bookmarks anywhere. It doesn't have to just be a repertory. Like I put them into my sort of most used repertories. So here there's one in QRep. So if I double click there, I'll open QRep. This one will open Michal Yakir's. This one will open Suggester, Massimo's. This one opens Burake. So it's a way of opening your favorite repertories quickly, but also you can save particular, you know, materia medica as well. So here's one of Kent's aphorisms, or the start of Kent's aphorisms, yeah. So it's exactly the same process in materia medica. You right click, click a bookmark, add a bookmark, give it a name, and it'll show up in your bookmarks folder. Anyway, to not showing that only veterinary. So you don't want to see, I don't quite understand that question. Is there any way to not showing?
I think the question's asking is, you know, are there rubrics that are only veterinary in nature? And if so, how do we not display the rubrics that are only veterinary rubrics?
I think you can buy a human only version of synthesis Adonis, and that would be the way, right, Fred?
Yeah, you see the little icon with the dog there. Can you show it?
Mm-hmm.
This means this is a vet version of synthesis Adonis, which means it includes the vet symptoms, which is what Luke is using, what I'm using, what I think most homeopaths are using, even not being vet, because those vet symptoms are interesting even for humans. But if for any reason you would like to not see any vet symptoms, you can just order a human synthesis Adonis, and instead of a dog icon up there, you will have a human face icon.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you, Fred. Okay, so the other kind of like main thing that you're going to use, like the kind of like hub of the program, is the search tool. Okay, so you just click on it and it loads a new tab for doing searches, but you can also type in the text field up here. And quite often the way that I have my program laid out is I will right click in the toolbar and I remove these ones because I don't particularly need them, and it gives me a little bit more space visually, and then quite often I'll be looking in the patient file and then there'll be something I want to look up and I can type into the search bar up here quite quickly. So let's say it was emaciation, because I looked at it earlier. What I do is just type the first few characters of the word and then an asterisk, and that would show emaciated or emaciation or any other ending of that word. So you just have to make sure you type enough characters for it to know what you're doing. There's a few reasons why you do this. One is that it bypasses the list of words, which means you only have to press enter once rather than twice. And the other is that it's faster, basically. And so what the program straight away does is it's searched by default in the current document, which is synthesis, and show me everything to do with emaciation. And I can scroll down to find the specific one that I want, or I can be incredibly broad and just right click and choose this option here. So it's the fourth option down, or you press Control Enter on your keyboard. And straight away, it starts putting in all of the rubrics into one clipboard and turns it into a grouped symptom for me. And this is like a Bonninghausen approach now, because it's, creating a building block that's, wherever emaciation is mentioned anywhere in synthesis, I created a rubric. So it kind of made the generals one a little bit bigger. So we look at the generals of emaciation, it's 341. So I've expanded it by about 40 remedies. And it might be that one of those 40 remedies is the key for this case, So that's one of the reasons I use that feature. But it's a very nice tool. And not only that, you can group from other repertories at the same time. So once you've typed your search, you type the first few characters, you add your asterisk, you press enter. By default, it's going to look in the current document, but you can change that. So the A to Z is like your guide to, where the program's going to look. It's like your navigation. So if you click on it, you can change where it's going to find the results. So I often use all repertories. Okay, now you'll see the same thing. I've got two words, generals and emaciation, and it's looking in all of my repertories now. And I can click on any one of them to see the results. So I've got Murphy, Massimo, Herring's Guiding Symptoms, the NER repertory, which we're working on, Kent, and all of the smaller repertories that have been incorporated into synthesis Adonis anyway. But what you'll find is that they've got slightly different gradings in the originals, and sometimes when you're opting to use this sort of expanded Bonninghausen approach, it's you can utilize those gradings as well. So I need to just show you one other thing here, which is the Hog Wheel up here. So when you use the search, you also have a table of contents, and you also need to get rid of the flags up here, get rid of the abbreviations to make it just a little bit cleaner. Authors you can display or not, same as before, yeah? So remember to do it here as well. So if I just change my search here to something a little bit more of a strange, rare and peculiar, smaller symptoms. So if I were to look at respiration, stridulous. So
And Luke, while you're on that,
yeah,
a few questions have been coming in about the asterisk feature that you're using. The first one is someone had just typed in, from the previous example, like EMAC without the asterisks, and it's still provided for the search result. So can you just explain that? And will that only work if there's a single word that you're using? But if you were to do, say resp and, STRIDU, but without asterisks, would that also still work? Or if it's two words, you would have to use the asterisks.
I think what's happened is if they typed EMACI and then pressed enter, so it would kind of come up with the first word, emaciate. And if they've got their roots and branches switched on by default, which it does, then emaciation would be there, as you can see from the dictionary here. And then they would have clicked on search and it would have been quite similar. So where the word already exists, you can start typing it. If you press enter, the program will, sort of pick from the list of words that exist in the database and say, do you want this one? So it's like an auto select type feature, which is great, but you can bypass it and make your life a little bit faster by using the asterisk. That's what I do.
Great. And then I'm not sure if I understand the question, but I'll read it as is. Can you let me know what the asterisk is for besides various rubrics, remedies, etc.? I'm wondering maybe if the question is like, what is it searching for when you use an asterisk in that search bar?
It's like a wild card, if you like. It basically means that the program will find any word ending or even any word beginning, if you like. So it's like saying find any letter. That's what it means. Yeah, does that make sense? So if I put in the start of restlessness, it will now find any letters after RESTL.
Great.
Okay, and if you put it in the front of the word, you could find any type of itis, for example, which is quite nice. So it's having to think about that one a little bit harder, but there we go. Which is nice, isn't it? So particularly if you're using Murphy's repertory, you'll find all of the itises in there. In synthesis, you should be looking for inflammation of a particular part rather than an itis. But if you're a Murphy user, there you go.
And then maybe could you show the simple and maybe a couple of hotkey shortcuts for adding a rubric to a clipboard?
Oh yeah, for adding a rubric to a clipboard, sure. Yeah, so let's say I want to go take one of these appendicitis. So from Fatak's concise repertory, if I double click here, I'll drop into his repertory. I'll show the remedies again. So the options to take a rubric to a clipboard are, basically, I'll just clear all of my clipboards now. So the shortcut is Control-Shift-N, and it kind of just checks, do you want to clear all your work? And I'll say, yeah, don't save, that's fine. If you want to save it, you can, obviously, click save. And then I would put it in a folder and, call it research or whatever, because it's not relating to a patient. But in this case, I'm just going to clear it. Don't need to save it. So hold down the Alt key, choose which clipboard you want. Then you can drag, or you can press the equals key. Okay, or you can click this button. Those are the three simple ways of taking a rubric. Or you can hold down Shift and then press the equals key. And then this window pops up. And this is where you can, if you're a power user, you can learn what the kind of symbols mean. Like if I put in an exclamation mark here, that means it is an eliminative rubric, which means that only the remedies from that rubric will count in the analysis. So if I just put in a few other symptoms here, if I drag that in there, that well, let's go down and do something different. Okay, so now you see this is a eliminative rubric, so only the remedies that are in that one will count. If I move it out, you'll see, the analysis change. So anyway, the main thing that somebody asked there was about, how to take a rubric into a clipboard using the hotkeys. One thing I would really advise you to do is to check out the shortcuts list. So go to click on help and open the shortcuts list. Opens a PDF for you. There you go. If you want to learn your shortcuts, this is the document for you. When I was first learning the program, I just, really looked at this over and over again and memorized it. So it'll serve you well. If you invest that time, it will serve you really well. You'll be flying around RadarOpus if you use this.
Okay, and we have a bunch of other questions coming in.
Okay.
Could you go back to the search and could you do, for emaciation, let's say, and
Yep.
you know how you added all of those rubrics to a clipboard? Could you do it again, but just doing selected rubrics from the search result instead of all of them? So maybe choose 3 different rubrics from that search and add them to a clipboard?
Yeah, for sure. So here we are. We've done the same search. I'm in FATAC. So let's go back to Adonis. And let's say that we want to use face. So click on the checkbox. And we want to use chests. Okay, so they've both got a tick in the checkbox. Now you right click and it's the 3rd option down. Take the selected rubrics and create a new combined rubric. So that allows you to be more selective there. Okay. And it automatically puts them into a new clipboard for you. And it gives you the opportunity to rename it. Now, if you forget to rename it like I did there, you just right click on it and choose rename from the menu. So it was face and I don't remember now, chest, face and chest. Yeah. So that's how you do that. The other thing you can do, which I was going to show you, is so the eraser clears the search. Was to do with having a stridulous respiration. So you see, this is a very small symptom now. So what I might do in this case is to combine all of the repertories just to up my chances of getting the remedies. So what I do here is I type in my 2 words, I click on the A to Z, choose all repertories, and then view all documents in one list, which is a little option there. Now you see it changes. Now I can just scroll through and see all of the results in one window. And then I press Control Enter, or I right click, choose the 4th option down. And that allows me to group everything from all repertories in one go for a small symptom and allows me to get, the highest chances of a remedy coming through in that. So if we go to synthesis, our biggest, repertory, there's 25. So Massimo is 25. So, you've kind of expanded your options by doing that. So this is a very unique feature of RadarOpus, allowing you to quickly combine the different repertories together like this.
And then could you show just going into a single clipboard and an analysis only of that clipboard, but then also show how to combine, looking at multiple clipboards within one analysis? So how to choose between those 2 options?
Yeah, of course. So I'll click on the analysis tab. So if I click on one, it'll show me just that one. If I hold down the Control or Command key and click on another, it'll drop that one in as well. And then if I, it's like you can experiment with different flavors to your repertorization this way. Let's say this was my basis, and then I just drop this one in and say, oh, how does that change it? Okay, no.
And then could you go through the step of doing an eliminative rubric one more time?
It looks like Luke is frozen.
Oh,
Tim.
Luke is frozen. Okay, well, we'll give him just a second to come back on. In the meantime, I think we can answer Moran's question. So they're having trouble deleting a rubric from a clipboard. And so a couple of options there. Oh, Luke, are you coming? No, we've lost Luke. Okay, we'll give him a minute to come back on. But to answer the question of deleting a rubric from a clipboard, you have a couple of options. When you are within that clipboard, you can click on that rubric and you can press the delete key, and that will allow you to remove that rubric from the clipboard. Or alternatively, what you can do is you can right click on that rubric within the clipboard, and you can, when you right click it, you'll see a little menu of options, and you can click, I'm not sure the exact text, it might say delete, it might say remove, something like that. But then you can remove it that way.
It's delete, yeah.
It's delete, okay. And then Frederik, I don't know if I've done this, so maybe you can help, is how do you move a rubric from one clipboard to another? Is it a simple drag and drop?
Yeah, the simplest way is to drag and drop. Maybe I will share my screen while Luke is probably attempting to get back to mine. Okay,
that would be great.
A minute. Where am I? Here. Share screen. Does it succeed? Do you see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen.
So suppose in this case I want to move the generals to one other clipboard. I select them by control clicking them as any other file in Windows or Mac, okay? And then I put the mouse on one of them and I just drag them. You see them hanging onto the cursor into the clipboard, and the two general symptoms are now in clipboard 2 and not in clipboard 1 anymore. So select, then click and drag onto the other clipboard. Is it clear?
Yes, yes, perfect. And then yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And then so dragging and dropping for moving a clipboard from or some rubrics from one clipboard to another. And then could you also show how to do an eliminative rubric once more, like Luke had?
Yeah, wait a minute. Let's say I decide that pain talking is like the one rubric where the remedy has to have that symptom, okay? And so what I can do is change what we call the qualification. It's by default, it's a normal rubric, but I can choose eliminative rubric. You see that here? And you see, instead of the 6 first remedies, when I choose that, bang, it's only the remedies of the lower line that are in the analysis, and that is indicated by the symptom becoming green, which means throat pain talking is now remedies containing remedies which eliminate any other remedies of rubrics, like 143. No, you see, this ends at 43. You see, this is what we call the eliminative rubric. Is it clear?
Yes, clear. And could you also show 2 more things? One, can you show how we can add more clipboards? So, you know, and I can just speak to this for a moment, is by default, RadarOpus will only show a certain number of clipboards, even if you have access to more clipboards. So what we'll have Frederik do right now is, if you right click on a clipboard, you can then see that there's an option for, what does it say exactly? More clipboards or fewer clipboards at the very bottom. So if you just click on more clipboards, that'll allow you to add an additional clipboard, etc., up to the number that you have allotted on your specific program. And of course, if you want to have more clipboards and you don't have, that as part of your program, you're able to upgrade your package to be able to have more clipboards. And in fact, in honor of JHC, we have a special to do just that. So if you would like to add more clipboards, contact us and we can help you get more into your program.
Yeah, it's the two lower menu entries here, more or fewer clipboards at the bottom of the right click hand menu. Yeah.
Perfect. And then could you speak a little bit more, about an exclusive rubric and talk about eliminative versus exclusive and how to do, we've already done eliminative, but how to do exclusive as well?
Wait a minute. Let's put them together again, just a little minute. Voila. So I take the smallest one here, face, pain, weather, okay? And I say exclusive, okay? Now see what happens. This becomes red, and it means that the 14 remedies that are existing in weather, wet, have all been eliminated from the analysis. So you don't want these remedies or this symptom to influence your analysis, so you exclude them, you see? So you have many, many choices now, many remedies, that all, as far as I go to the right, you see, none of them are present as one of the 14 remedies in face, pain, weather, wet, aggravates. This is excluding, it's like the opposite of eliminative. Eliminative is, if a rubric is eliminative, it eliminates anything that is not in the rubric. If the rubric is exclusive, it eliminates everything that is in the rubric. The 14 remedies are eliminated from the analysis. If it's, let me change it to make it clear. I know this is a little bit complicated, but if we make it eliminative, okay, you see, it's the 14 remedies are the only ones we consider. And in the other case, we don't consider the 14 remedies. That's why I say it's opposite. Is it clear?
Yes, very clear. It looks like Luke is coming back on, but actually, Frederik, if you can help with two more things, we can get both in the same. Could you do a search? And in the search, could you show how you can look not just within one repertory, but do a search within all repertories?
Yes, my brother. So I type the word brother. And then this is the search area. And I can say, for example, my search area is all repertories. So I will be looking for the word brother in all repertories. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
Whether they're open or closed. You see? And I have all these repertories containing symptoms with the word brother or brothers. Or brotherhood even.
And then can you show how, so Elizabeth is the one who asked this question. So Elizabeth, you can see all of the other repertories are on the left-hand side, but can you also click the view all documents in one list? So that way she can just see that they're all, another way to view that information. And that's another way you can see it. So that way you don't have to just click on the left-hand side. You can also see them all in one big list on the right-hand side.
Yes.
And then one other question.
Or not yet? No.
Oh,
You're monitoring.
Luke had an issue. Luke had an issue with his Wi-Fi, so he's just trying to connect from his phone.
Okay. So we go on as long as Luke is not there. Yeah. Let me show you one. Sorry, as we are on this. Hello. Can I speak?
Yeah, you sound good, Frederik. I can't hear Luke.
I'm here, but you keep going. My signal's not good enough.
You cannot put the cable, Luke. Cable.
No, Frederik, he had a Wi-Fi failure.
Oh,
okay, no problem, Luke. We'll we'll keep going. And then you know what we can do, Frederik, is we can answer these couple of questions. And then if you'd like to progress to your presentation, and maybe by the end, Luke will have a stronger Wi-Fi signal, you know, he might be able to complete his. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, yeah. And while probably this was on Luke's list because it's another nice feature. So suppose we're having a patient who has these issues about brotherhood and brother and dreams about brothers and wants thinks about brothers and all this kind of sympathy for brother and etc. etc. And then we have, you see this little graph icon. It translates this search result into a graph. And when I click on it, it will just highlight the remedies that are most strong for the word brother. You see? You see them here, as sulfur is, of course, well known. And magnesium muriaticum, the one who loves everybody, etc. And if you say, oh, I would like to know the magnesium muriaticum symptoms, you click on this bar and another search starts where you see brother in magnesium muriaticum, and you see, for example, here, dreams of Philip de Grote's repertory, where the word brother is present in the remedy magnesium muriaticum, as you can see at all instances. So just to go a little bit in the flow of Luke, where he shows the flexibility and then the vast amount of possibilities our program offers, and how you can quickly follow your thinking. You just follow your thinking. Okay, so is there another question?
Yeah, and just to add to that, I think that's one of the amazing things about RadarOpus is how powerful of a program it is and how versatile it is, and how with trainings like this, you know, we can really learn how to use the program in a way that really serves us. So again, just thank you to you and to Luke for sharing this with us, because it definitely helps makes using the program and getting the most out of it so much more accessible. So thank you. And yes, another question came in for regards to the search is in searching for words, how can we search for all related words and other words containing them? So can you just show how to modify the search feature there?
Yeah, wait, I will look for the word walk, okay? As soon as you define one word, there is this little triangle here, and this opens the dictionary that Luke already has been showing, you see? And in our dictionary, we have the roots and branches, where you, in the case of walk, which is a verb, you see all the tenses of the word walked, walker, walks, walking, see? This we call the roots and branches. So you can then tick it on or off, as you can see. You can say, I look exactly for symptoms with the word walk, or I look for symptoms with the root and branches, let's say grammatical variations, spelling variations of walk. That's a choice. Or you can even say, I want to join the synonyms, footstep, hiking, pacing, step, etc., etc. And there again, you can maybe untick a few words. So the variety is incredible. You can just tailor your search to exactly what you want to find. And then, of course, a footstep maybe you don't like, so you tick it off. And then you say, okay, search in all repertories. And there you go. You launch the search. And this is a random example, but I hope we're lucky. Oh, my program crashes. I hope we are lucky, and you will see some results with the word footstep, etc. as well. Yeah? So this is the whole idea.
Mm-hmm. And while you're reloading that, I'm just going to answer a question someone else had asked. You know, for the search feature, it sounds like some people have just been using the default or just using its synthesis. And yes, you can use the search functionality for any books that you have in your program. Repertories, materia medica, etc. So that's what the search function is there for. And of course, if you want to add more books to your program, you're always able to do that. But that search functionality is not limited to synthesis. It is for the entire contents of your program. And of course, if you want to add any contents to it, contact your dealer. They will help you in you know, upgrading to a larger materia medica library, more repertories, etc.
Yes.
And just going back to that functionality that you were doing there, Frederik, for, you know, contains and the words, can you just click on a couple people missed it. Can you just go through the process of accessing that screen one more time, that pop-up window?
Yeah. So you can search what Luke has been showing. I don't know if it's the easy or the difficult way, but anyway, the one line way, let's say, where you can just type a word and start a search. Or if you want to be guided a little bit more, you can click on this icon. You see the two icons here to the right, okay? And then you get these blocks where you are guided. Yes, because when you type walk, this triangle appears and this opens the dictionary where you can then indicate or select or deselect certain words to tailor your search exactly to what you want.
Perfect.
Clear?
Very clear. Yes. And then, oh, go ahead.
Walking slowly, you can add words. And again, also for the second word, you can then decide what to add, etc. So, and by the way, for the remedies as well, if you type a remedy here, I'm thinking of a slow walker, we're thinking of Versatility, don't we? And then also there you have again so many options. You can decide which degree to see or not, big or small rubrics, remedies with certain degrees, etc. So you can just tailor the search you will launch to your desires.
Amazing. And then a question came in about, after using Adonis, the word null, N-U-L-L, has been added to the name of a saved patient. Are you familiar with that? And they're wondering, you know, why that is.
After using Adonis, say it again.
Yeah, after using Adonis, the word null has been added to the name of a saved patient. Does that sound familiar?
The word null.
Null, yeah, N-U-L-L.
Yeah, I'm in what shall I say, Congress mode where the name of the patient is hidden. No, when you create a patient, which you would be doing here, you see, create a new patient, you can start with the administrative thing, and here you have to type like Tim, and I'm gonna write that because all my test cases have the last name test. So if at this moment there would be like an error message appearing which contains the word null, your patient will be called null. But you can easily change that to the correct name by opening the administrative tab of your patient. Let's say it is even null, why not? So you say, oh, my patient is called null. You would find that patient back. Yeah, on the Congress mode, it's a little bit difficult. But anyway, you can go back to the administrative part of that patient and then just change the word null into Miller or whatever.
That makes sense. Yeah, perfect. And then I just want to
So
answer.
it was on in Congress mode. I hope that is clear, because then I unveil all the names of my patients, which is not kosher.
Right. No, that makes sense. Absolutely. There was a question about, which I think I can answer just quickly. Can you have all repertories open to be working at the same time, or is it a feature just look for one rubric? And yes, as Frederik is going through the steps, you can do a search with all repertories, all books, all open ones. Exactly, all open repertories right there.
Or all repertories, even the ones that are not open. You don't have to open a repertory to search in it.
Right. So you can even just select all repertories.
Yes.
And then can we do a remedy extract of a particular symptom, say coma, across all repertories especially with high grades or singular rubrics, and compare vis-a-vis across families.
Comma is okay, but degrees would require to define a remedy. So does this user wish to define a remedy and then say, I only want like second, third, and fourth degree?
Would you like to say that, Sumit? Yes, opium.
Opium, okay. So we type opium here. And remember, we have options, okay? The little triangle. And in opium, we say, no, I don't want the symptoms where opium is in the first degree, because I want to see the coma symptoms that are outspoken, that are second, third, or fourth degree. Okay, you understand?
Mm-hmm. And they've also added arnica. Ooh, go ahead as well.
The user wants to see opium and arnica at the same time.
I believe so.
Yeah, it's possible. You can do that. So you just add a second line in the remedy window, and then you would need to do the same for arnica, remove all the symptoms which contain arnica in the first degree to have only the outspoken ones. And then you can just click here in all repertories, and there you go. You have here, in this case, especially in Murphy, you see arnica, second, third degree. You see, all of them contain the word coma and are outspoken symptoms of arnica or opium. To show just another possibility, hoping I'm not saying too much, but you can also differentiate them by choosing here at the remedies, the little rectangle, symptoms which they have in common and exclusive. You see that? And if I have selected this one, I do my search again, I don't get one list, but I get different lists. So I have here, wait a minute, I have opium and arnica at the same time, you see. Then I have here opium without arnica in the second tab, the middle tab. You see, these three tabs are here. Eh? And then in the third tab, I have the opposite. I have coma symptoms of arnica without opium. So I can even differentiate very quickly the coma of arnica and opium by acting in this way.
Perfect. And they're adding now. Okay, perfect. They said, yes, thank you so much. Got exactly the way that they wanted with differentiation a bit. So thank you very much. Okay, so that's great. And then I did just want to comment. I saw a message from Chris Mack in tech support for those who are mentioning about the null issue. And it sounds like in the current version of RadarOpus that is no longer happening, the null. So just FYI for anyone who's been experiencing that, if you update to the most recent version of RadarOpus, that's not happening anymore. And then we have another question coming in, Frederik, from Iran, and they're asking, if I want to see a different graph, i.e. miasms, previously when I worked with a different program, this was available, but doesn't seem to be possible with synthesis. Is that true? If they want to see a graph of, i.e. miasms?
Graph of miasms. Well, wait a minute. With the miasms, we have, for example, Grant Bentley's approach. I don't know if these people are familiar with Grant Bentley's miasmatic approach. So that is still available here through the map. So basically, I'm going to recall a case to show you exactly how it works.
And I guess I'd also like to ask Moran exactly what type of graph you would like to see of miasms, what kind of information within the graph. That might also help us identify that. Oh, and Luke, you look like you're moving. Is your internet back up, Luke?
Yeah, I think it's working again for now.
Oh,
I do apologize.
Okay,
Keep
yeah,
going.
your
Keep
voice
going.
sounds loud and clear now.
Yeah.
So shall I just reply to this one thing of
Oh,
miasms
please
of Bentley?
keep going. I do apologize. This it's the state of Britain
You
these days.
take over. You take
No.
over. We'll finish this, okay? So this is just a random analysis I've taken, okay?
Okay.
And then to involve the miasms in that, we go to the maps. The maps are basically ways that some homeopaths help us. And we have Bentleys on the miasm. And then you say, like the red miasm is the one I want, which is psychosis, as you can see. Okay. And now I want to limit my analysis to the psychotic remedies. So I just click on the red one here. An eliminating rubric is added here. You see the lower line, 21, and it shows your emphasis to choose for this patient should be one of these 11 red remedies according to Bentley's facial miasmatic approach. Okay. So over to Luke now.
Okay.
Actually, if we could just continue this one, because it's from Iran again. The one I used, I could click on the graph, i.e. as the icon analysis at the top and have the general results then I could click on miasms and it would give me the various remedies under the different miasms. This doesn't seem to be available to me. It sounds like maybe what they're looking for is doing an analysis, but then adding a family to it, limiting to analysis.
Yeah, it sounds like her idea of a graph is different. She's talking about the normal remedy analysis graph, and if you right click on a remedy, you can show the miasms from there, I think. Not quite sure. Maren, can you try and describe it again for us, please?
So you take over, Luke.
Sure. Okay, I'll take over.
I stop sharing.
Okay. All right. So fingers crossed it's going to work for me this time. So I was pretty much at the point, I forget where I was exactly, showing you the patient file, I think, because that is an area of the program that is fantastic if you learn it well. So I figured I would show you a case of mine, a patient, and show you how I use it and how I sort of move through the program with the patient file as my kind of central point. So I tend to type the notes, not verbatim, but I type as I'm there straight into RadarOpus. That means I don't have to file any paper. It means that my patient notes are secure and encrypted according to the GDPR regulations. Even when I'm presenting to you here, I can have the program only display the initials of the patient, which is fantastic. And yeah, and I can record the prescription and the pathology. I can even do an evaluation of their progress. So it's a really good thing to do for your practice. Okay, so basically it's a case, the boy's 5 years old. The doctors have prescribed or diagnosed a viral croup, and basically it's kind of triggered an old problem that he used to have when they lived in a moldy house, which was of these recurring sudden onset fevers where the temperature was rise suddenly quite high and sort of seemed to cycle in 6-hourly intervals. And that would kind of continue for up to 7 days and then return after 6 to 8 weeks. So there's a really marked periodicity to these fevers. Yeah, that's the main thing from there. There's a bit of intro from the father, who was a patient of mine first. So it's just an email that I've copied into the patient file essentially. And then some more text, and then this is me typing in the consultation itself. So you'll see that there's various things going on in the patient file here. So this symbol means that it's part of their physiological history. And these colors mean that it's like, it's like a way of like filtering the information or grading the importance of the information. I don't use it in a like really precise way. I use it as, oh, that's interesting, I want to, go back to that. So, if you were taking notes, you would underline something and say, I want to go back and ask them about that, or that seems important. So you start kind of like adding, shading or nuance to the information that you're receiving. And it's very easy to do. You type, and if you say, okay, this is important, you come up here and you just click on a number 1, 2, 3, or 4. And you can change the colors and the text by how I showed you at the beginning, clicking on Tools, Options, go to Patient Setup and click on the Consultation tab. And you can change everything there to your liking. Okay, so what is really nice about this is that once you've taken the case, you can just click on the number. So let's say the really important aspects of the case, click there, and it opens it all in one window for you. Isn't that nice? Then I can see what I thought were the important symptoms here. So the boy's also been diagnosed as being on the autism spectrum.
We might have lost Luke again.
Yeah, seems frozen again.
Well, shall we shift to your presentation then, Frederik?
Yeah, so maybe I give my presentation and you can liaise with Luke to see how we can resolve it by the end. It's okay?
I think let's proceed with that. And so, Frederik, if you'd like to start sharing your screen. And everyone, today, Frederik will be presenting on optimal flexibility when analyzing a case. And fingers crossed, I feel so bad that Luke's internet's not cooperating with us today. But what we'll do is we can have Frederik start, and then hopefully Luke will be able to share a little bit more at the end of our session today. So thank you everyone for your flexibility with us as we navigate the internet.
And exactly that is the title of my presentation. It's about flexibility then.
Perfectly named, eh?
Yeah, as you can see the slide, I hope. You do see the slide?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, so I have taken, so there has been these countless hints and examples of flexibility of the program and the power of the program. And I'm going a little bit on a more philosophical level, at least at start, though I will definitely try to be very practical as well. And so why, even without knowing we would run into this flexibility issue, why did I take some time ago flexibility as a kind of approach to what I want to explain? Well, basically, flexibility is taken from the Merriam-Webster dictionary, and the one Kent was using also. It's about adapting to new and different requirements. And that's, for some people, sounds almost like strange, because aren't we using even last week still China officinalis, which is the first remedy that Hahnemann ever proved and used? So yes, we are using it. So we are still having the same tools, the same remedies and the potencies, etc., etc. Still, there is some flexibility coming, I would say. And to explain what I would like to say, to the point I would like to make, is I will tell you a little bit about potencies. And in those old days, long ago, because in fact today I'm a bit old, my story started in a very Kantian environment, the Faculty of London, where the Materia Medica, we had different books, but Kant Materia Medica was there. When we learned about philosophy, of course, there was the Organon, but Kant lectures were there. And when we repertorized, we did use Kant's repertory because nothing else existed, to make it short. So Kent was all over the place. And also for the potencies, a supposedly Kentian approach was you give a patient the 200, then you sit and wait, and the patient comes back, says everything is fine. You say, okay, come back in 1 or 2 months. The patient says not fine anymore, and you repeat the 200, and you go like this, the famous scale 200, 1M, 10M, etc. The Kentian scale and the Kentian approach of waiting, watchful waiting. So as time went on, well, even in London, I must say, we read in the organon that Hahnemann himself had been using towards the end of his career the so-called LM potencies. And then some people say, oh, I love LM potencies, and LM potencies are better. And some people say, well, LM potencies are in fact the only potency you should need. And I've been having always a very inquiring mind. And so I tested all these approaches, and on the LM potencies, for example, it's been, I think, 1 year and 4 months or so. I prescribed any patient, acute and chronic, only LM potencies to see how that worked. And it did work. It did work. And sometimes it will, should I not give a regular potency or whatever? And as time went on, I discovered, and probably you have discovered, that so many people have different opinions. Some people say, if it's an acute case, you prescribe a low potency. But then I read in Nash, and I see Nash gives all these clinical examples, acute otitis and everything, with very high potencies. And then someone else say, yeah, I use the low potency if it's a physical complaint, and the high potency if it's a mental complaint. And all these rules, and everybody say, this is how I do it, this is how, yeah, you have to do it. And so in the end, it gets to a kind of chaos. And I got to this point where, also inspired, I must say, by the homeopath Alfonso Masi Elizalde from Argentina, that I believe that potencies have to be individualized. The best approach is to individualize the potency as much as we try and individualize the remedy. So I'm not going to spend a long time explaining this, but the basic point I want to make is that as we have our clinical experience, and as we have failures, and as we have successes, our vision changes and our idea about dosage changes, because today I'm using Kentian scale, and today I'm using the LMs, but I'm using them sometimes this and sometimes that. So flexibility is adapting to requirement and change, and widening up your ways you can help patients. And now this is a story about potencies, but in fact we can expect, and I will explain to you, the same story about the repertory and about repertory analysis. Again, in a nutshell, you know Kent's repertorization. If you have read some of his cases, he used the eliminating symptoms, which means he goes for a very typical characteristic symptom, which maybe contains 50 remedies. And he says it must be one of these 50 remedies. Then he chooses a second symptom, which has maybe 60 remedies, but only 40 are in common. So he says, okay, we scratch them out, and it must be one of the 40 remedies. So eliminates, every symptom is an eliminating symptom in the sense that I have just been explaining, and then he comes onto the conclusion of a few remedies where, of course, then he decides based on the materia medica, the Kentian repertorization. Or we can follow the approach of Bönninghausen, who says divide the symptom of the patient into what is he feeling, where is he feeling, and is there a modality, localization, sensation, modality. You know, the LSM approach to get a complete symptom, as he called it. Is the complete symptoms that will help us understanding the patients. And then the genius symptom, and not so much the generalized symptom, much more important are the genius symptoms of Bönninghausen. And this, where he created his last repertory, the therapeutic pocketbook, is not based on generalization, it is based on genius symptoms. So another approach another approach of another repertory. Even Bönninghausen made basically two very big repertories, two important repertories, or analysis strategies, etc. And so I think we can say the same. As clinical experience evolves, we change maybe the repertory and the repertoire analysis strategy. If it doesn't change, it means you're stuck, according to me. Because if a homeopath says, I cure all my patients, just I don't need anything, just give me this approach and it always works, I don't listen to that person anymore. Because we learn as much from successes as from failures. This is the truth, I believe. And so this leads to the very obvious question, what have we been changing to the repertory? And I would like to highlight just a few points, not too much, because, you know, I've been working on the repertory and changing the repertory my whole life, but just to highlight a few points. And I believe I like to do so because one advantage of our project is that all those changes in the tools that you'll see are based on clinical experience. And myself, I'm still seeing patients, and today I have a waiting list of about 6 months, and I know most of the people collaborating with us, like Luke Norland, very important collaborator, is seeing patients, and many people, almost all the people working with us, except maybe the retired ones like Gerard Megens, who's listening there as well, they are not seeing patients for the moment a lot anymore, but they have been seeing patients. So we are working and changing a repertory based on clinical experience. And so what have we been choosing? Well, provings. Provings is the bread and butter of homeopathy. And there are old provings and recent provings. And there are arguments to emphasize the content and include the content of all provings, because yes, some of them still need to be completed. And yes, some of the information that is in the repertory already needs to be corrected. And we're making a continuous correction effort. We're improving all the time the information in our repertory as well. Or do we prefer recent provings? Yes, there are very good arguments to prefer recent provings, because recent substance will probably correspond to recent needs, like some of the more recent remedies may be more relevant for immune diseases. And definitely in these recent provings, what is interesting is that we see the symptoms expressed in recent language. So the bridge between the patient speaking and the remedy, the materia medica speaking, becomes easier. And so what we have done in our project is that we have been adding as well information from old provings as information from recent provings. Now, the emphasis in one of the big projects in Synthesis Adonis is that we have been adding information of 230 contemporary provings, meaning provings that were repertorized or executed in the last 15, 20 years most. And here you see the names of the heroes: Vladimir Petrocci, the Norland family, I must say, Jeremy, Peter Tuminello, Australia, Chetna Tsukla, etc. In fact, if you go to our website, which I will just do here, you can see here in this section all the provings with the names of the people and the substances that they have been proving, sorted by the number of provings per author. You see 22 provings by Vladimir Petrocci from Slovakia, Ritzer and Eberle, Jason Eric Hunneke, 8 provings, United States, as you may know, he may be there, and Todd Rowe with 5 provings, etc. Jonathan Shore, recently departed from us, his 5 provings have been included in Synthesis Adonis. And then a whole list of people where just 1 proving has been included. So 230 provings. If you feel a little bit lost or you would like to have an introduction, there is a webinar by our dear Luke, which will explain you some of these new substances so you can move ahead and use them more easily. So here is the slide with the remedies, like carrot and fireweed and cacao tree. You see, interesting substances. Second emphasis we have been giving on the repertory is obviously on the level of clinical information, and also there between Synthesis Treasure Edition, the previous version, and the current version, Synthesis Adonis, a big leap has been made, and we have added about 50,000 additions with the help of Frederik Master from India, Massimo Bancialavori from Italy, and Philippe de Grote from Belgium. And they have been all integrated with precise references. Also, this list is not complete, like Jeremy Scher's clinical keynote editions, over 2,200 have been integrated with his help and consent into Synthesis Adonis, which means these are the key symptoms, according to him, leading you to the substances he has been proving, based on his clinical experience. So a lot of very clinical, interesting information. Yes, we must be careful not to add too much clinical information. I agree to that fully, more than anyone else. And so one of our approaches or remedies to this is that we try and be precise. So Frederik Master, who has been doing a lot of provings, if information is there with a proving, it will be with a precise reference. Synthesis since the beginning is the repertory with the most precise bibliographic referencing, whereas some repertories have no referencing at all. Well, we are as precise as possible. MTF2 means the second reference of Frederik Master is proving of Toxicophis punyax. And if there is a 0 behind it, it means it is a clinical confirmation. So, third element of Synthesis Adonis and working on the repertory is the pathological rubrics. This means it is a rubric which is equal to a pathology. And I must agree that Synthesis has been, our whole team, in fact, not very keen to add a lot of pathological rubrics, because isn't the homeopathic value of symptoms more strong if we can find strong and striking symptoms, and doesn't the mental picture count, etc.? And haven't our ancestors and colleagues not been repeating over and over again, we should not just treat the pathology, but the patient? Isn't this the core of homeopathy? Yes, it is. So nevertheless, we have now started to add pathological rubrics in Synthesis Adonis because we believe they can be an inspiration. And let me give you some examples to explain this. So there is, for example, celiac disease with 52 remedies in the section abdomen. The malabsorption syndrome has come in with 8 remedies. The ARDS, which is very strong now, has been very strong with the COVID, as you may know, or even some more seldom pathologies like this eye problem with 6 remedies have come on. And what does it mean? If you ever come across one of these precise pathologies, you will see some, and let's go to eye, wait a minute, let's go to eye idiopathic. Voila, here it is. You see 6 remedies. You will see some of these remedies, aurum, gelsemia, phosphorus, you know, but there is also this one here, dubosinum, you see, or here one, santoninum. And you may wish to read up this materia medica, not so much to prescribe on the basis of one pathological symptom, but also to understand how the homeopathic story of that pathology is. And like it has a pain, or it has a flickering, or it has a whatever, it has all these symptoms, and we go for precise symptoms, and you will find them in the materia medica of the remedies that are here in those pathological rubrics. And the second reason is, why is this an inspiration? Because if a colleague who doesn't know about homeopathy has to start treating a patient with diabetes, well, maybe he's lost to start, because in classical medicine, it's easy. If you have the diagnosis, you start them on metformin. I think the remedy, metformin, the medication, is the same worldwide, okay? So it's very easy. In homeopathy, no. And so please be aware that in the treasure edition, we have 156 symptoms explaining information about 244 remedies that can be interesting for diabetic patients. That has been increased in Synthesis Adonis a little bit on the level of symptoms, but 20% on the level of remedies. And what will you find if the patient has coma or dullness or grief in a diabetic patient? You will see the rubric here, the sadness, of course. Or when there is diabetic retina inflammation, retinitis in the patient, you will see here, again, suggestions of remedies. Same goes for COVID, the other example we cannot miss. We have made a very big effort with our team, and in Synthesis, we have collected the experiences of 28 different authors, ranging from Farouk Master, Pete de Baats, André Sen, Massimo Mangialavori, many others. And so we created a rubric of no less than 132 remedies, but also, again, more precise symptoms that can be useful for patients in the pathology of COVID-19, when there is a strong factor of anxiety. You see, when there are certain delusions in COVID patients, when the patient is saying they're well and in fact very sick, this is a remedy, vertigo coming up. You see, so you have all these different possibilities leading you from pathology, which is, let's say, the allopathic beginning point to think, to homeopathic thinking. Now, you may have been thinking that I am advocating the more is better, the more the better. And I would like to put a little parenthesis at this stage exactly about the more is better. And yes, we have been working for 12 years on Synthesis Adonis, that is absolutely correct. And so on the level of quantity, we have made an enormous leap, because Synthesis 2009, the treasure edition, was containing some 2,300 remedies. Now we are at almost 3,300, some 800, 900 remedies more are described in Synthesis Adonis, as you can see. So it's a leap, I agree, it's a leap. But it's an interesting leap, and I will explain this in a few ways. The first thing is I would like to give you some examples of the repertory and the inside of the repertory itself. And this is the beginning of the food and drinks section in generals, okay? In the treasure edition, you see me? And in yellow are the types of food, like alcoholic drinks, ale, almonds, desire, anchovies, desire, you see, apples, aromatic drinks, artichoke, artificial foods, okay? These are the food entries of the first screen of the treasure edition. Now, in Synthesis Adonis, in yellow are the ones that have been added. And you see here, artificial food is at the bottom of the screen here, while in the previous edition, it was halfway of this column. And just to say that there is a substantial number of rubrics added. And like, for example, if there are more than 50% extra remedies, the number has been colored yellow. If the rubric is new, the whole rubric has been colored yellow. So now we don't have we have more remedies for the desire of almonds, but also remedies for the aversion. We have a new rubric for desire of ananas. And we have not only more remedies for the desire of anchovies, but also for aversion and aggravation, and so on. You see? And this is important because, you know, among the generals, food and drinks are often the deciding factor of a case. So I believe this is an interesting work where we have been expanding that section of food and drinks a lot in Adonis. And yes, I agree. We speak about quantity. We have, for example, here a rubric of a supposedly complete repertory, which is 67 remedies in egotism. If we go and look at Adonis now, that same rubric has 107 remedies. And And so it is your choice to work with 67 or 107 remedies. And even if we disregard the families here, which is some 15 remedies, that is 50% more information, 50% more possibilities to find a remedy than you were looking at before. And if we apply the same to practice, which is of course the analysis, we see the same. Even just 3 simple rubrics, mind sensitive, secretive, and taking responsibility too strongly, too seriously. If we look at the remedies that come up, here we see 9 remedies. You see, after placenta, it's less, and there's only 9 remedies cover the 3 symptoms. If you do the same analysis in Adonis, which is the upper rectangle, you see that in fact 24 remedies goes up to here. 24 remedies are covering those 3 symptoms. So when you will be adding more remedies, of course, you will be seeing more information about several of these remedies that are appearing here. Okay. And so it is your choice to work with 107 remedies and 24 remedies in the analysis or not. So in fact, am I saying the bigger remedy, the better? Is this true? Is this true? Am I denying my story, my long lifetime story, that synthesis project stands for quality and that in a way we don't care too much about quantity? No, because the one thing I must tell you is this part of the story. And to explain you about the remedy being bigger, smaller, etc., we first have to agree a little bit about the definition. And in this little table, I have put the numbers of the symptoms and saying that a small remedy is a remedy between 100 and 500 symptoms, you see? Okay. And that, of course, we have big, very big, and even gigantic remedies where the number of symptoms is more than 10,000. Perfect. But the one in the middle, the medium-sized remedies, is something between 500 and 2,000. Okay. And I believe this is a very good and practical and interesting size. And if there is a remedy with only 5 or less symptoms, it's inconspicuous. You will not be able to find it almost. So I believe our effort must be to move the information of these remedies with less than 5, less than 100 even symptoms to the next category. So the very small remedy becomes small and the small remedy becomes medium. But that effort should not be going on all the time. The medium remedy should therefore not become big, and the big not very big, and the gigantic not even more gigantic. Because this doesn't help. When we repertorize a case, when we repertorize approving, when we make additions to the repertory, we should be very careful, and we should only make those additions that matter, just in the same way as when we listen to a patient, we just don't take every word of the patient. We have a filter, a homeopathic filter, the paragraph 153, what is strong and striking. And in this way, we will be able to understand the soul of the patient and the soul of the remedy. And so what is the job of the repertory editor? Is not quantity, is not quantity. I still believe it. It is to put the soul of the remedy in the repertory. Okay. And now I will show you this with another graph, what I mean by that. This is a timeline starting in 95 and 2005 until more recently. And in yellow, you see the different versions of synthesis and the number of symptoms for sulfur, which, as you know, is the big remedy with the most symptoms in any materia medica or repertory. And what do we see? Well, in our project, this has been increasing between synthesis 8, 9.1, 2009 and Adonis, with a jump here from 12,000 to 16,000, okay, but then less than 1,000 more, you see, and then in 10 years, just little more than 1,000 extra. So sulfur is done. And for me, sulfur is done. You see, if you don't find sulfur with these 18,000 symptoms in synthesis, then something is wrong. The goal should not be to make the big remedies very big and the very big gigantic and the gigantic, and quantity is not a goal. We must be sure that the soul of the remedy is in the repertory. So if you look for the soul, the core symptoms of your symptoms in the repertory, you will find the sulfur. This is the goal. And so in some other projects, this has not been the case, because you see, it's almost doubled. It's almost doubled and goes on and on and on. So we have been very careful. When I show this graph, we have been very careful to what I call avoiding the quantity trap. And I have been lecturing about this, about quality and quantity in the repertory, etc. But I will just give you like 5 hints what is meant by avoiding the quantity trap. One idea is that all our collaborators, we ask them to not over-repertorize the provings. Don't put everything. Put the soul and understand, reflect. Kent wrote, meditate even about what you need to put in the repertory. And so to translate this idea in a mathematical phrase or a mathematical formula, we ask people to repertorize a proving to somewhere in between 400 and 800 symptoms. And if it's a little more, sometimes it's okay. But please try and start with this. And then we'll have something we can use in the clinic. Clinical confirmation will come, and so on and so on. We do not add substance information in synthesis, because the substance information is not precise enough. It's just a substance. This is another approach. So we don't do that. I'm going to turn on the light just a little minute. Voila. Then we don't put redundant rubrics. And some repertories are really champions. What is a redundant rubric? Well, to quote the first symptom of Quent's repertory, there are no remedies, no cross-references, no sub-rubrics at abandoned. Abandoned says see forsaken, and everything that is like abandoned is put under forsaken. So we have only one place where all the information on abandoned, forsaken, etc. is present. And we have made a great effort there to clarify this in our project. I will show you the screen here of Adonis again. Look, when you go to forsaken, you see here all these gray symptoms. Do you see that? You can show them or not show them, but by default, they are there. Why? Because these are what we consider to be synonyms. So if a patient says that he has the sensation of being alone, or desire to be listened to, loneliness, abandoned, of course, has a sensation of solitude, unlovable, deserted, etc., these all goes into forsaken feeling. And you, of course, when you look at deserted, you will see that this is a cross-reference pointing to forsaken feeling. But even at the master rubric, the regular rubric, you will see all these synonyms and making you understand the feeling of the symptom. And confirming this idea, we don't put rubrics that are too close. We rather create synonyms, and only when there is a real difference between rubrics, we will create a new rubric. Okay? No duplicate symptoms. What does this mean? Well, in Kent's repertory, it was like this. There was a rubric asthma alternating with eczema in respiration and in skin. And some remedies were in the one rubric and some other remedies in the other rubric. Throughout the whole repertory, and this has been done throughout by now, in one of the earlier projects, we have only one rubric at the most vital place. And so asthma is more vital than eczema. And so in respiration, you find asthma alternating with eczema with all the remedies, and there is no duplicate. At skin eczema, you will find a cross-reference saying, no, it's not here. Go and look at respiration asthma alternating with eczema. So no duplicate symptoms. No duplicate location. Like there is chest anxiety in Kent's repertory. And then you can, of course, say, yeah, anxiety is a mental symptom. So I put it in mind as well. Well, this increases the size of the repertory and the number of remedies. Yes, all these duplications, they will increase the size of the remedy, but not the practicality of the repertory. So in synthesis, only one place, one location of the symptom. And then most important is that in our project, we copy the remedy only to the next super-rubric. So a remedy in morning on waking will be copied to morning, but not ahead. Not 7 times ahead to all different kinds of related rubrics. We have functions to do that with, in the take function that Luke has been explaining, there are certain possibilities to do so, but as a rule, we are very cautious to copy remedies to super-rubrics. We could indeed, yes, we could indeed write a program and copy remedies to all the related super-rubrics. But this is blowing up the repertory, expanding it to no use. Remember that the approach Kent took is to add the remedy to the most specific symptom. Okay, and then only if there is 3 instances of the same fear, for example, the remedy is added to fear as well. So very cautious and have a balanced repertory, not just blowing it up. And yes, doing all this quality approach of adding information in a balanced way, and rather the smaller remedies than the bigger one making even bigger, still now we have quantity because we are far ahead with more than 3,200 remedies that have been described. But I just wanted to clarify it, that if Adonis comes with a lot of more information, we have not betrayed our idea that quality information is the most important point of our project. Then as a 4th item on what is changing to the repertory, I remind you, number 1 was provings, 2 clinical information, 3 pathological rubrics. I would like to say something about families of remedies. And this is a special one because remedies and families is like 2 worlds. Until some time ago, and maybe even today for some people, speaking about families and people speaking about remedies is like almost opposite, you see. And repertories, by nature, by history, they offer remedies. It's a rubric, jealousy in the morning, you have 5 remedies, okay? Still not totally true, because in the community, which supposedly is reflected in the repertories, the consideration of families is already there for a long time. Even Kent wrote about families, considering symptoms of a family, not just symptoms of a remedy. And my teacher Blackie, Margaret Blackie, physician to the Queen, spoke about families. Jeremy Sher and Luke Norland in their family repertories have been using families as well as remedies. So it's alive there. You heard about it, people giving approaches with families. So yes, it's one step, giant step we have taken with Synthesis Adonis, is that we have added families as remedies to the rubrics. And why did we add families as remedies? Because isn't family a totally different thing than a remedy? Yes, it is. But we have added them so we can add them to the same rubric. So there is a rubric, whatever, fear of high places, and you will find Argentum nitricum and Pulsatilla and Staphysagra, all the known remedies for fear of high places. But you will also find a number of families in exactly the same rubric. And that makes it very practical because you can continue repertorizing with your known rubrics and you will find remedy information and family information just in the same place. Then you say, yeah, but I don't like to be confused that the family is a different thing for me. And therefore, I can tell you that we have put an asterisk, another asterisk, at the end of the remedy abbreviation, saying to you, this is a family, not a regular remedy. And like aves with the little asterisk means the families are in Latin if possible, just like the remedies are in Latin. This is the bird's family, aves, okay? Or anak with a dot is the remedy. Anak with an asterisk is Anacardiaceae, the family. You get the point? So you will be able to see in synthesis Adonis exactly whether you're dealing with Anacardium as a remedy or Anacardiaceae as a family. And also we've been putting them in the degrees 1, 2, and 3, just like the remedies. And this emphasizes that the family is a possibility, not an obligation. It is, I believe, one of the big mistakes that some family approach people make is to say that a family is a decision. It's like when a family is decided, it has to be the family. No, just like a remedy, it's a possibility. This is the general introduction. Now, how does it look like? Very concretely and precisely. Well, here is the rubric Desire to Kill. And you see here what I was saying, anacardium, the remedy with a dot, and here anacard with a little asterisk. And you even have a feature in our program where you can highlight the families with a gray background so that it is very easy to recognize them. Okay? Now, we're speaking about flexibility, okay? And the flexibility is that some people don't use, or are not used or trained so far, to use the family approach. And our program is our project. Our whole project is a project of flexibility, adaptability, and empowering the user. And so you have all these possibilities where you can display the families within the remedies list, at the top of the list, at the end, etc. Or even, as Luke has been showing, not display them at all, you see? And at that moment, your synthesis Adonis, your rubric Desire to Kill, just looks like this. It has the 97 regular remedies and there is no family visible. Okay? So if you are one of the persons who say, oh, they're speaking about families, no, that's the thing I don't like, don't worry. You buy Adonis, you do the setting one time, and I will show it you again. Here is, you do it one time here in the little wheel, and you say here that you will like to not see the remedies, don't display the families, I'm sorry, don't display the families. And you see, your repertory is just a few more remedies, of course, because we have taken this big leap of 12 years, but you will not see remedies in your families, I'm sorry, in your repertory screen, and you will not see them in your analysis. So this is what we call flexibility, is serving two worlds that have a different idea. So what you want is what you get. With our project, RadarOpus synthesis, what you want is what you get. You want it, you get it. And I'm going back now to one other idea that is a very strong feature of our program, I believe, is the repertory views. So here at the views button on any rubric appears a list of repertory views. You see, this is the views in Treasure Edition. These views have been updated and organized a little more in a logical way for synthesis Adonis. But basically what the views do is they help you to show or hide more or less information according to your desire. So you can be flexible. Yeah? Like I'm going, wait, I take a sphere, wait a minute, mine. Fear of high places, okay, there's a little bit smaller rubric, okay, and then today you see the full repertory, which has 164 remedies, but you can go back to Kentian repertory. You see here one option of the view is Kent's repertory, and then you bang, you fly back to just the 4 remedies, argentum nitricum, pulsatilla, staphylococci, sulfur. They were there, and that we knew when we were using Kent's repertory, there must be many more remedies because so many people have a fear of high places. I would all the time prescribe argentum nitricum and pulsatilla. Yeah? And so, yes, you can then expand your synthesis just in one click. You know, you say quantum view, which is adding all the conservative sources, and that rubric now has 40 remedies. Okay, or you can go even further and you say, okay, let's now include also more recent provings, and it becomes 62 remedies. And like this, you can decide, and maybe there is a school or a teacher who says, I want my students to start with Kent's repertory. No problem at all. You just choose Kent's repertory, and you will see, even from the beginning of the repertory, it is Kent's repertory. I can here quickly hide those other symptoms. And those who have the book, they know it starts with abrupt. Kent's repertory starts with abrupt, and then absent-minded, etc. So this is Kent's repertory. It synthesis Adonis showing Kent's repertory. And then you go ahead and you are in the 3rd year, and you say, okay, I've learned how to use these 694 remedies, I believe it is. I want to move up, and I want to see a few more remedies. And then you expand the repertory, etc. And what is even more interesting, you don't have to be a student and start with Kent and then something else. You can even apply different views to a same patient or during the same day, depending upon your needs. So let me show you this a little bit after I explain the views. Let me first explain the views, then I'll tell you the case, okay? So the views are here progressing from progressive to conservative, you see. This is everything, full view, with no remedies copied that I've been explaining to you. And then you have the full view without dreams, meditation, provings, fault and hypothetical information, or even a little bit more conservative, where the recent provings have been removed. We call this quantum view, okay? Or a German teacher, Germans are very severe people at times, and they say, no, I want even less, and I call this reliable sources. And so eventually you get to Kent's repertory. Then the second block, this is like quantity, quality, conservative, progressive, the first block, okay? The second block is starting from Kent's repertory, expanding over time. So in this view, pioneers, all the sources have been included until 1834. This is the death of Hahnemann. Or 1916, we call them classics, until the death of Kent. Or 1987, death of Schmidt, we call them the modern homeopaths. So again, you can choose which view to select, and then you can choose to see only remedies, only families, only minerals, only plants, only animals. So selecting on the basis of remedies, all these views are possible. Or if people say, I only want provings, or I only want sources that express clinical confirmation, all of it is possible. Even recent provings. And see how a rubric changes completely. If I would say, fastidious, okay, if I would say only recent provings. You see, Adamas, Agar, the sources are Timinello, you see, Ortega, the provings, CNS, Chetna Shukla, etc. SZ is Susan Sons. So these are information based on provings. You can make your choice. Then we have a few views. You know that in our project, we also have integrated all the repertories from Berger and Bönninghausen into synthesis. Then Bresson, Kent, and Vitulkas also have given their idea how views should be created. And now, this I will skip because it's just another example how a rubric changes when you use different views. And then you can analyze a case as if you were Kent. This is a real case of a sinusitis patient with a headache, exertion of the eyes, tenacious mucus, pain in the face because of the wet weather, in general aggravation, talking aggravates, pain below the eyes, and then also desire spices. So pretty straightforward symptoms. And when we repertorize them, we can choose the Kent repertory view. And by the way, the word revised is relevant here. The Kent repertory in synthesis is not the printed Kent repertory. It is, I apologize to say, much better, because all along, with the help of different people, among others, Pierre Saloya from France, we have corrected so many things to Kent's repertory that the Kent repertory in synthesis is a much improved version with hundreds of mistakes corrected. But anyway, generally speaking, it is Kent's repertory. And then you see when we analyze these cases, 4 symptoms cover 4 remedies cover 5 symptoms, you see? And when you read them, silica, calcarea, silica and calcarea are probably the most interesting ones, which we then have to differentiate in these patients. You agree? Now, if I give silica, enough calcarea, and I don't have a solution for the patient, as you see, it's just one mouse click, and I move ahead, and I can analyze the same symptoms in the full repertory, this time treasure edition, okay? And I see next to silica and calcarea the very interesting suggestion of Restox, which is obviously also a sinusitis remedy, worse from wet, etc. Okay, and argentum nitricum phosphorus, etc. And I see dulcamara, which is also still covering 5 symptoms, and also wet aggravates as a strong feature and has the desired spices. So maybe I have to read up dulcamara materia medica as well to try and decide for my patient. And so you see how the views help you to play and to be flexible and to look at the case. When in the old times when we did repertorization, it took us half an hour, 45 minutes by hand, constitutional repertorization. Now I do repertorization, I remove a few symptoms, I add a few symptoms, I do a view comme ci, a view comme ça, and I have just, I am like a magician who plays with balls and just fiddle around and play around until a remedy appears that seems to fit the case. Now, the last section here, the last big section, I would like to explain a little bit how we can work with families. Another lecture we could continue a long time, but I'm just going to give you a very quick view on 2 cases. And the first case is a case of a non-believer, which I believe, as a believer, is a very interesting situation. And the non-believer was saying that she was a very fidel follower of Hanuman and was always criticizing people who believed in families. It's about beliefs, okay? And after Adonis was released with the families, and I've explained that a number of times already, she was annoyed to see the families in the rubrics, but she was flexible. She was flexible. That's the difference, my friends. And this non-believer was Gamze Arpaci from Turkey, the lovely lady. And what did she do? Well, she had this case, which was stuck, she was not able to cure it. So flexibility, require new methods adapting to new situations, okay? And this was a case with long-standing migraine since childhood, frequent migraine, okay? Every month, several days, with a strong premenstrual syndrome, with up to 10 days depression before every menstrual period. And these complaints were existing since 15 years. She had been treated homeopathically with no results. And she was given and really looked like not Muir, but our friend, colleague, thought, well, the one thing that is very strange is it's so very chilly, you see, and natrium Muir is normally not chilly, sure not very chilly. And so what she did is what I have been doing since ever Adonis was released, since May last year, and what you can do as of tomorrow, because remember, you can download a demo today even and start using Adonis today for free if you don't have it yet, is that she took that case again, just as I have been retaking all my cases again. Same symptoms mostly. Maybe this choice of symptoms already okay, fine. But I have to use the new repertory with new possibilities. And this is exactly what she did. So she used the same rubrics: sadness before menses, the general mental aggravation, the fear of failure, the duty, the fear of impending disease and industriousness, the premenstrual syndrome on the level of the mammae and the ovaries. She took the same symptoms she has been taking in the Synthesis Treasure edition, and she did find the same remedy, Natmur. You see, yes, Natmur is covering this case quite strongly. But what did she see in Synthesis Adonis in this analysis is that there was a family appearing. You see, a family called Milks appearing. And this means, according to me, and this is a suggestion for your practice, that you should consider the members of this family. If a family recognizable by the little asterisk appears in your first 10 or 20 remedies, please reflect extra about the members of this family. And now you may say, well, that's a shortcut because I see lacanine, that's a milk. So I prescribe lacanine. No, apologies. We still work in the same procedural stepwise way as always. Repertorization is a step, meaning it gives you hints. And then we go to the materia medica and check the materia medica against the story of the patient. If it's about lax, we are lucky to have this work of Farooq Master in our program, where there are the general themes of the lax, but also for some 10 different lax, some descriptions here, which explain you the main features of the different lax. And our lady friend read through those lac descriptions and said, well, one thing that I like a lot is that is written here that lac defloratum is looking a lot, many symptoms resemble those of natrum mur, because she always thought it's a natrum mur patient that doesn't work. What the heck? So this was like the first sentence she read. And when she then went on and looked to the materia medica of lac vaccinum defloratum, which is the full name, she saw that this remedy is very chilly, cannot get warm, even not warm clothing, etc. So sensitive to cold that she feels as if the air is blowing on her. Isn't that like fantastic? And so she prescribed the lac defloratum to this Natmur patient, and there was an immediate big change because the next menses were without premenstrual syndrome. And the months that elapsed, follow-up of 1 month, there was no headache. And then the follow-up was the same. And so a big change, an immediate big change happened because of the flexibility of this lady to just look a little bit further than the Natmur, which appeared again and again in her other repertorizations. This strategy can be summarized as this one. Consider the family shown. You just take the symptoms as you always do. And my little suggestion is prefer the mind symptoms. Maybe, as Luke has been showing, put the mind symptoms in one clipboard and analyze that clipboard, because most of the family information, I must say, is in the mental symptoms. And then if your analysis shows a family within the first 20 remedies, please consider the members of that family. That's a very easy and practical way to use family information in an interesting way. I still have time for a second case, I hope, a very short one. I will bring it very short way. This is again a lady with rheumatic pains to a very strong extent, to the point she was suicidal from the pain. She also had recurrent herpes zoster, especially on the nates, extremely cold feet, muscles too short, etc., brain fog, tired, etc. Reuma, herpes zoster, coldness, muscles too short. We almost don't need a repertorization to know the remedy that's coming up. Anybody knows? Well, you repertorize it, you see Rustox. What is the problem in this case? She gave, oh no, I gave, was my patient, I'm sorry. This time it's my patient. I gave Rustox, and Rustox did work, had the result. In fact, was the best remedy so far, but didn't really change the case, you see? So it was the best remedy so far. And no, I will use the slides to go quicker, I apologize. What is the other thing you can do? Well, Synthesis and RadarOpus have all this family information embedded, entwined in many ways to help you think and work the way you think. And what do you think now? Rustox appears to be the remedy by far from the repertorization. Rustox appears to be the remedy because of the good results so far. But it's not the best remedy because it doesn't bring the lady out of the situation. So can we not think of a family of Rustox? And then yes, it's just one click away. You see these families according to Cronquist, to Dahlgren, to APG2, which says that Rustox is belonging to the Anacardiaceae, like anacardium, you see all these remedies here, 14 remedies. And you can then limit your repertorization to these Anacardiaceae. Yes, to the Anacardiaceae, to the family members of Rustox. And you read your Materia Medica of Anacardium, but this has a totally different mindset. The lady is absolutely not having this problem of self-security, of ambiguity, opposition, etc., etc. So you read Anacardium, and you do your work as we've always been doing, we will always need to do, and you decide it's not Anacardium, okay? And then you see this com. Maybe you even don't know what com is. Com is in fact the abbreviation of Comocladia. And you read again, and you see eye and skin. Now, I don't know, but skin, yes. And then you see rheumatic pains with different modifications, modalities typical for rheumatic pains and swelling. Yes, the lady had edema, edema in the ends, edema in the calves and the ankles and the feet, etc. And you understand you've come across another remedy, Comocladia, that is close to Rustox and appeals, resembles the core symptoms of this patient. And you find this way through family thinking, family strategy, the prescription of Comocladia. And if I may, I can summarize this strategy, this other strategy. You take the symptoms as always. And if the patient really reacted well, but not fully to the full extent on a given remedy, you consider giving the members of that family. Okay. And then before we switch to Luke's very short, two little examples I would like to give is a little hint I would like to give about how to handle new information. Because yes, Synthesis Adonis is coming with a lot of new information. And we can look at the rubric Desire Salad, which I will do live. Salad, Desire, okay. And you see you have here 19 remedies, which is definitely a lot more than in the time of Kent, because in the time of Kent, there was only one remedy, Elaps, still very well known. But if you go then to the full repertory, you even have 35 remedies, and some of those remedies may be not too well known to you. Iris foetida, lavandula, Lycops virginiana, okay. And what else? And I see here this Passer domestica, Passer domesticus. I don't know this remedy at all. So I can search for this remedy here, just right click on it. I right click on the PAS D abbreviation and I search for this remedy in all documents. You follow me? And at that time, I see that in synthesis, there is a very nice integration of this remedy, up to 1,700 different symptoms. It's also existing in the mental qualities here of Jeremy Sher, animals, big ego, birds, etc. Okay. And in fact, in this table of contents, I see under provings, Norland M. Norland, I think this was Misha, or I don't know. Anyway, Peter Fraser is giving the introduction, and I can read the whole proving, why it was proven, the pharmacy, the times and the dates, who has been proving it, the classification of the symptoms. And here we start with the first theme of energetic, fizzy, bubbly, wild, etc., etc. I have the full proving, so I can know this remedy. Because we have not only been making additions to synthesis of many provings, we have been adding a lot of documents on provings to RadarOpus as well. So you can here read and decide again, this unknown remedy, does it fit to my patient? Is there an issue of loud music? Is there an issue of communication, etc.? And even if you have seen, we have a section here in our table of contents, clinical cases. There is a case by Anne Vervarke of the remedy Passer Domesticus. And you can read through this case, which is very precise, which the full dialogue, Anne Vervarke writes the full dialogue of the patient, and then here goes on with an analysis, you see? So this is very, I mean, you read through this stuff here available in RadarOpus, and you know how to use Passer Domesticus, remedy unknown to you for the rest of your career. One other example I would like to show is a very short one, is again another quite unknown remedy, is Solanum, wait a minute, Malacoxylum, yes, voila. Oh wait, where did my window go? Solanum malacoxylum, voila. So, if I have this remedy here as a new one, which I don't know, and I hope this is one you don't know, Solanum malacoxylum, I see again, the remedy has been integrated in synthesis Adonis, 323 results. But for the rest, our dear friend Frans Vermeulen is describing the biology and very interesting source information. But on a homeopathic level, I'm stuck. Well, my dear friends, not yet stuck, because there is a little feature. And in the search window, every person has to search in the language of their nation. And like the Danish people can search Danish, English people English, French, etc., etc. So, and then they will find information in the Portuguese or the Spanish books, which maybe they like most because Spanish materia medica is what they like, okay? So the search is language defined. Many people will search in English, whatever country, because they know most of the books in our library are English, but definitely Italians can also search in Italian materia medica, and then they have to tick this little flag on, and then they can search in Italian. Okay, this is the intro. Now, what does this matter to you? Well, if you are searching for a very small remedy and you don't find information, whether you're English, Spanish, Portuguese, whatever, please be aware there is this little other possibility which is saying all languages. You see that? All languages. And this is only applicable if you look for a remedy. And the remedy, Solanum, wait, here, this remedy again, Solanum malacoxylum. And when I search now, he will search for information not only in English or whatever my language was, but in all the languages, and show a list of all the materia medicas, okay? And you see again the English, but you see there is some stuff here in Italian, by the marker translated. There is some stuff by Luton here, and Joanie, but look here. Look, do you see the number? You're looking at the numbers here. There is a proving in German. In German, yes, Arzneimittelprüfung means proving of solanum malacoxylum. And you're curious. You say, well, this is fantastic, and maybe the toxology and all this is not so interesting for you, but yeah, you want to go here, and then you see all these symptoms, Ergebnisse, and what can you do with this German? Well, our friends, you just go to the symptom here, and wait a minute, what shall I take here? Here you can select here a symptom, go to our little friends of, wait a minute, now this is a little bit in the way. Translate. Google Translate. You just paste it here. You say this is indeed German, and you see a film over the eye as a perception, at the same time a transition to a feeling of changed reality. Everything is unreal, space is changed, he feels dazed, dazed when waking, dreams appear true. And you can use Google Translate to translate your German materia medica, even if you're English. And suppose you would like to, you may do a number of times, but anyway, or even maybe in the United States, I know quite a few people speak Spanish or understand at least Spanish. And so they could, if a remedy comes up with a Spanish materia medica, they could just use Google Translate or their language knowledge to know more about the remedy. Okay. So voila, this is what I wanted to say, the malocoxylon. And I want to thank you for your attention. I think, I don't know if I'm not aware if I'm speaking too long or too short. I've just been running through my slides now. I want to thank you for the attention. And before I pass the word on to Luke, I want to show you just the synthesis Adonis flower here in a macro picture here. Very beautiful flower. It's the inspiration for the name of synthesis Adonis. And I hope you like the flower, and as much you will like all the work we have been putting into this huge project over the past 12 years with dozens of people worldwide. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that presentation, Frederik. That was wonderful, getting to know more about the importance of flexibility and the features that RadarOpus can offer us. So thank you so much for that. Luke, did you have some more things that you wanted to go through from earlier?
Yeah, I could do, couldn't I? And I'll pray as well that things are working. It seems to be stable now, but you never know. It's one of those days where as soon as I start talking, it'll kick me out again.
Alrighty, well, if you want to share your screen, and then there were actually two things that I was hoping you could go through from previous questions in the program.
Yep, let's do it.
So the first, someone was asking, and I think this is such a great, point or question for searching. They were searching for the word eczema. And, one of the things that can be really tricky is kind of repertory language versus modern language, and even if that word is in there. So I was hoping you could just do a search for the word eczema.
Yeah, or just the first 3 characters and an asterisk will be enough. There it is. So, and then if you just want skin in general, just add the word skin as well. And there you are. So yeah, she was lamenting the fact that it comes after eruptions rather than just having, being at the first level, if you like. So the way to bypass that is to use the search tool. If you're finding it frustrating using the, the navigation tool and having to know exactly the structure of the rubrics, then that's the thing to do.
And then could you also show, I think this is another great example of, the concepts feature within RadarOpus, in the search, being able to highlight some of the concepts that are available for eczema that can help give people inspiration for rubrics that they might choose to use beyond just the straightforward, skin eruptions, eczema, but,
Of course. So if you go back to your search, so I just typed ECZ Asterisks, which is easy and fast. And as I said, the default is for the program to look in the current document where it says A to Z there. That's your guide. So click on A to Z and change that to all repertories. And then scroll down to the concepts. And if we look here in acute diseases, you can then double click and see like a definition of eczema, classification, the different causative agents or etiology, and then here, clinical symptoms, you'll see that it gives you some hints for clinical symptoms that may be applicable to your eczema case. So it might be that there are vesicular eruptions, that there's pus formation, scaly, maybe there's impetigo. So yes, there's one of the routes into the concepts, which are in fact like a portal into the main synthesis Adonis repertory. One of the gateways into that is to just use the search tool and specify all repertories. So I pretty much search in all repertories all the time. So if you want to change that, you click on the cog wheel and then you change this to all repertories, or keep the last place I've chosen. So if you change it once, it'll continue to search in all repertories the next time I perform a search there. But if you want to explore the concepts themselves, the other way into that is to just open one of those repertories itself. So if you click on the repertories icon, it'll show you your list of repertories. And a quick way to get to the concepts is to click there. That little drop down arrow displays or hides all of my main repertories. So these are repertories which have a symptom index. These are the concepts, and these are the families down here. So when you search for like a miasm or a plant family or an animal family, you're actually like looking in any one of these documents which display families rather than symptoms, which we could look at a little bit if you like. But these are our like concept documents, and these are the radar concepts that Frederik put together, where you can look up different disorders based on the the systems of the body. So let's say you've got a case which is gastrointestinal in origin. You could say, okay, yeah, it is an ulcer. Let me see what symptoms are suggested here. And that might give you, if you're interviewing the patient, you might go to this, document and say, oh, do you have problems with burping, or what is the sensation there? Is it heavy or is it something else? It could give you ideas for questions you might ask as well by using this. So yeah, do go and have a look. You might not have them in your package, depends which what you bought. But yeah, they're very, very, very useful tools written by a Dr. Frederik Schroyens. So thank you, Fred.
Yeah, I think so helpful, giving ideas, inspiration, kind of having an invisible person to brainstorm with there, can be really, really helpful in the thought process.
Yeah.
And then I know you answered this question already in the chat, but I thought it'd be helpful to go through about limiting an analysis to a specific animal group or plant family based on, for example, Sankaran, Yakir, Scholten, etc. Just so people can see how to do that.
Absolutely. Okay, so this is the case I was walking through. So let me open the analysis there. Let's open the latest one, and we can do it with that. So if I double click here now, I shrink down the table of contents and I can see everything in full screen. And I can see the remedies that are coming up strongly with this repertorization. And I tend to work with different clipboards, looking at different aspects of the case. This one I did in a bit of a hurry because I was doing it while I was with the patient. But yeah, you can look at different aspects of the case by clicking on each clipboard and seeing what comes up most strongly there. Or you can combine them by holding the Control key and clicking. So let's say I wanted to look at Ignatia, for example. I can right click on it, and like Frederik showed, down the bottom here is the family option. And this opens up a window which kind of lists all of the different families repertories I was showing you just now. And you can choose one from there from which to base your, your limitations. So Sankaran families, Loganaceae, the Sankaran miasm is there, which is Cancer. So let's say I would like to look at the Cancer miasm in this case. I just click on select, and this creates a filter using Sankaran's classification of the Cancer miasm. And now when I click on any clipboards, it's always going to show me that filter. Okay, and I can look through and see which remedies coming up strongly in each one of these clipboards using that filter. So that's a very nice, simple way to do it. Another way to do it is to click on the families icon, and this shows you a list of all the families that we have in our database, which is almost 6,000. In order to use it this way, you sort of need to know what you're looking for. So let's say I'm pretty sure it's a case for the Loganaceae. So I just start typing it. Then it shows you the different family repertories that we have. One of them is Sankarans. The other is like, plant taxonomical repertory view. So I could right click on any of these and then choose to limit the analysis to that family. So this is the old way that we used to have. And what this does is create a rubric that's eliminative for you. That means that it's only in one clipboard. So as soon as I click into this one, it's gone. So it's not as versatile as the first method that I showed you, because you're actually creating an eliminative rubric. So those are the two main ways. The other way that you can do it is by using a map. So click on maps, you'll see this gallery. You can take a look at all of the goodies here. And the main one for families is this one. And you can click through. So anytime the icon changes to like an analysis graph, it means you're going to limit the analysis to that group. So if it doesn't do that, it means there's more to it. So let's click on animals. Shows me the like family tree, taxonomical structure. Let's say I want to look at the mollusks, click there. Okay, let's do all mollusks. So I'll click here where it's showing the graph, and then it does all the mollusks there. Okay, so it's, like with everything in RadarOpus, there's a few different ways to do it. I have to say my preferred method is to look at the analysis, see what's coming up, and say, okay, Staphysagria is there. Let's see what other families are, what other remedies from that family are there. So you just right click, go to the bottom of the menu, and then here you have to, okay, look, Botanical Repertory by Michal Yakir. She says it's row 5, which correlates to school age, where your abilities are tested. You go into a hierarchical environment where there are rules and laws. And so the person's inner age is being expressed in that way, where they're sort of coming up against authority for the first time and, having to be good, if you like. So you can select that. And now that it's filtered to Michal Yakir's row 5 plant remedies. So this is not just showing me the Ranunculaceae family, even though the first 3 are from that family. It's showing me all of the remedies from all of the different columns in her table, but looking at the Ericksonian age of school age. So if you don't know about Erik Erikson's, what is it? It's the stages of psychosocial development. You can look into that through Michal's work or through Gandhi's work. And it's interesting if you're working with the psychological aspects of a person's case. So that's
fantastic. Thank you for going through that. And then I just want to remind everyone that this webinar is being recorded, and that in a few days, after we edit it and process it, it will be available on the RadarOpus Academy. So I've included the link in the chat feature of Zoom. So if you need the link for the RadarOpus Academy, the webinar will be on there in a few days. And also just a great time to mention that how helpful of a resource that it is, the RadarOpus Academy, if you're not already familiar with it. It's an online library of many video recordings, all available for free, covering different topics of the program. Luke is on there, Frederik is on there, so many different speakers and teachers. So please check it out. It's extremely helpful and a wonderful resource, whether, beginner courses, expert courses, etc. And there's, the ability to search for different videos, to look through kind of based on different things you might be looking for, as Luke is showing. Or you can even look, as Luke is going through, at all videos. And as it loads, filter by language, filter by topic, do a specific search. And it just really can help you, because sometimes the wonderful thing about RadarOpus is it's an incredibly powerful program. It can do so much, but also we need to know the tool that we are using. And so these training videos can really help you get the most out of the program, the most out of your investment, so that you can hit the ground running with your repertorizations and analysis. And the better you are at using the program and the better you understand what you're doing, the better result that you can get with your patients. So it's just a wonderful, wonderful investment of your time in order to get the most out of everything. So with Luke, I know that there are a few more things that you wanted to share that you didn't get to from earlier. So if we can transition to having you do those things.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, the main thing I wanted to show you was relating to the patient file and how that can be, how if you master it, it will help you, and it's an important part of my workflow, and the whole remit of my talk was to show you how I in particularly work with the program. So I tend to, as I was saying, remove these icons from the top icon bar because I don't tend to use them very much, and I like quite a clean interface. And then what I do is I'll look through my case after I've added the kind of intensity to the different symptoms. So one thing you need to know about using the patient file is you write into the text box, and then instead of pressing enter, you press tab to create a new one afterwards. So I go to the bottom, you see if I press tab, I keep creating new text boxes to type into. Okay. And what I really like about it is that once you've added some grading by clicking on a chunk of text and then clicking on a number, you can then just hit that number here and it will show me all of the symptoms relating to, that intensity. So where, this is obviously quite important symptoms. So we can see that he's very sensitive, that he has these jerky movements when he's going to sleep. So let's say I wanted to search for that rubric now. I want to search for jerking. So I just type the word, start of the word, and press enter in all repertories. It's like that. It's so fast. So extremities, jerking, sleep during, aggravates on going to sleep. Okay, so that's the symptom. So I might want to just change my search terminology here and add the word going. Okay. And so you see here, there's one relating to lower limbs, and there's one relating to like just the extremities in general. And then there's one in the generals as well. So which one do you take? I would just take all of them from Adonis. In this case, press Control Enter, and then that's it. It's done for you. So there it is. A nice big one, including all of those different options. And you see there the Loganacea there. So with this child, I did give Ignatia first, and it didn't actually help very much. So I looked again at the analysis. So with these 4 clipboards, double click, okay. And you can see the remedy that I gave in there, but if you change your analysis strategy by clicking on the chess piece icon, if you change that to small remedies, it comes to the fore. So carcinosin was the remedy which really helped him, and it was given in an LM4. and he actually only needed 1 dose. Normally we expect LMs to be repeated, and sometimes people will say take it daily straight away, but I always follow the advice of Luc de Schepper, whose books are very good on LM prescribing, and you give 1 dose and wait for the response and ask for feedback within a short space of time, so after 2 days. And if the person's well and the problem has resolved, why would you repeat it? It wouldn't be good. So yeah, he needed 1 dose to break him out of this relapsing fever. So you can see here, fever periodical is one of Carcinosin's symptoms, and also fever relapsing, which is what was happening. It was relapsing on a short cycle, but it was also happening with a longer periodicity. So on that level, it worked really well, even though it didn't have that, sort of quite characteristic jerking off the limbs on going to sleep, which was covered by Ignatia, which is considered by Sankaran, part of the cancer miasm. So yeah, I mean, that was it really. I wanted to show you particularly about the patient file. So I'll keep on with that. Another aspect I like about it is not just the ability to grade symptoms, but you can tag symptoms as well, and you can create your own tags. If you click on this button here, it brings up a list, and you can add to that list with anything you like. So if something's a modality, you can just say, okay, you press F9 to open the list and start typing modality, then it goes. It's not displaying quite right because I'm using a second monitor, but yeah, so you can add your own. And when I now click on one of those, it's going to show me all of my modalities. I just go to all consultations there. So that's quite nice. I can just instantly say, what are the modalities in my case? And there they are. And we know that modalities are important symptoms where, the state is fluctuating and it's being affected in a dynamic way. So those are important symptoms to repertorize. So yeah, consolation ameliorates, cuddles, hates reprimands. So I would then say, okay, reprimand, ailments, type it in. There it is, synthesis Adonis, pull that into your clipboard. What was the other thing? Consolation, Mel, this is how fast it is. Drag that into your clipboard. You might also go to the rubric and say, okay, what else is there? Yes, affectionate, sympathy from others, desire, or even a theme. So this is, I put this into my personal chapter, but this is basically taken from my thematic repertory. So if you have that, you might open, you could either search for it by the word affectionate, and it will open all my repertories. And then here, I can type the name of the repertory I want to find, thematic repertory. And then I can pull in, if I want to be more broad, I can use a theme instead. And then, I've got it set to small remedies here. So I'll just change that back. It'll always tell you down here which algorithm you're using. So click the chess piece, change it back. So, with this small totality that I've got here, carcinosin's right there. So, this analysis that I'm showing you that I did on the fly was quite messy, and it's always good to follow the maxim less is more when you're repertorizing. Like Frederik said, find the soul of the remedy, put that into the repertory, find the soul of the patient, put that into the rubrics that you choose. One of the other things I like about this patient file is, let's go back to the first conversation. This feature here is sort of inconspicuous, but it gives you a load of boxes that you can do anything you want with. And Sankaran had his 8-box method, so I sort of followed that for a little bit, and I put those into my boxes here. So it's a little bit small, but the first box relates to the diagnosis, pathology, history, etc. So in this case, it's recurring intermittent fever, there's croup, there's gluten intolerance, there's OCD and autism spectrum, especially since vaccinations, and sensitivity to house mold. At the level of the locals or SRPs, we've got hoarseness of the voice, fever returning, the same time of day, jerking when falling asleep, stridulous breathing during the cough. Over here, we've got the physical generals, never been well since vaccination, etc. So it gives you an opportunity to organize your information directly in the program. And that then helps you when you're going to your analysis and say, oh, I haven't got anything to do with OCD yet. So let's put that in. Just go to the search box, type OCD, press enter, use Jeremy Scher's rubric. Okay, that's done. I want to go back to my patient now. Go back to the free fields. Okay, what else haven't I got here? Admonition ags. Well, we put in reprimands, ailments from, but we might consider, you know, that rubric too and grouping them. Cancer miasm was quite clear, quite sure of that. So why not add it as a rubric as well? Right, for the word here, we want to go down to the families repertory, Sankaran miasms, cancer, drop it into your repertorization. Okay. And you could, of course, make that eliminative by right-clicking on it and changing the qualification. So that might be useful if the carcinosin hadn't have worked. Okay, agaricus has the jerky muscles. Maybe that could be one to consider. And of course, you can put the prescriptions in as well. So down here, you just double-click or do Control-L and look at all prescriptions. So you can see I tried Ignatia 200 first. It didn't change the state, but it kind of aggravated. Then went to carcinosin, single dose. So you can enter all of your information in here. You can enter in the pathology group. And you can also evaluate the response. So if you click on the scales, like, you know, the astrological sign Libra, you can evaluate the response by clicking here. So in general, this had a marked effect. The patient got much better. And if you would, I don't do this with every case because I'm a little bit, sometimes I like to be very precise and sometimes I'm a little bit chaotic, but that's just the way I roll. So, you know, if you do this, you're going to end up with really interesting information that you can search. You know, you can see how many times you prescribed a remedy, what kind of responses you're getting to certain remedies, certain potencies. So the way you do that is to use the search, but in this case, search in the patient file. And then you can look at the graphical analysis here. So it shows you your most prescribed remedies, sepia, shows you whether you've got male or female patients, what age groups. So this, for me, I don't enter their age, so it's not correct there. But, you know, the more data you input, the more feedback you're going to get. And here, if I search in prescriptions and then just launch the search, I can see all the different prescriptions I've made and all the potencies, and I can extract it to an Excel file. So, you know, I would really encourage you to get to grips with the patient file and use it, because it is very powerful, and it does, there's a lot more to it than meets the eye. So yeah, that's it. If there's any other questions, we can do them in 3 minutes.
Yeah, no pressure at all, eh?
No.
It doesn't look like any other questions are coming in, but if anyone does have any, please feel free to add them into the Q&A feature of the program of Zoom, and we can take those now. And in terms of sales, just a reminder, you know, everything is done through your local coordinator or your local dealer. I'll add the link again to find your dealer if you don't know who it is. But all of the, you know, individual offerings are all country specific. So please contact your coordinator to find out. And just a reminder, if you are in North America, because of the North American conference that's happening right now, we are running some specials, but only in North America. So feel free to contact us at orders@RadarOpus.us for more information. And the same, I'm seeing a question about VES. VES, Frederik, would you like to speak about the Vitulcus expert system? Oh, look, I'm sorry, you're on mute.
What is the question about? Yes.
Oh, they were just wondering, you know, about VES, about its availability for purchase.
No, it's the VES was developed by George Lucas and me in the 80s. And unfortunately, some time ago, George has decided to withdraw the agreement. And so we can continue to deliver the VES to the people who have bought it, but we are not able to provide the VES to new users.
Thank you. And Luke, it looks, are you going in to answer Candace's question about the fields?
That's it. Yeah, just in your patient file, you know, in the consultation window, it's just up here in the top right. That opens your free fields where you can copy paste text from your main consultation in there. And then that's your kind of overview of the different aspects of your case. And that gets saved whenever you click the floppy disk icon. So it's all in one place, you know, it's nice.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, it looks like there are no other questions that have come in, and we are a minute away from the dot, so well done. Oh, there is one. Let's see. Patrick is asking, the features shown during the presentations, what additional packages were needed? Diamond and Adonis, how about the families? Great question, Patrick. So many different features were shown throughout the presentation today, some needing those higher engines, some requiring Adonis. It kind of just all depends on which specific features you were talking about. So we'd recommend that you contact your dealer in order to find out, you know, which features you'd like to unlock and what would be available. But the families feature comes with your engine. So that would be in the Diamond engine. So that would include that. But yes, for Adonis, you would need to upgrade to Adonis, and Diamond is the highest engine, which of course we would encourage everyone to upgrade to that so you can unlock the fullest features of the program. And Luke is going to show us something in here.
Yeah, you can see exactly what's what at this page, I believe. Yeah, package 4, package 5. Families come in package 4 and 5. So gold engine package 4 contains the families. Package 5 contains all the concepts. So that would be diamond. Yeah, maps are from silver engine or package 3 upwards. So if I just put this URL in the chat, or I'll just answer you here, Patrick, there you go. So that is where you can see all the nitty-gritty details about what's what.
And just keep in mind that depending on the country that you're in, the packages may vary slightly. So just keep that in mind. And the important thing to pay attention to with many of the features is which engine the feature is in, because the engines are a constant from country to country. So if you like a feature that's within the Diamond engine, then you'll want the Diamond engine, whichever package that might be in your country. Or if there's a feature you want of the silver engine, you know, keep a note for that. So the breakdown that Luke will send out on the chat will be really helpful. But just keep in mind, really focus on the engine details, as packages may vary from country to country or even from rental and purchasing.
That's true. Yeah. But yeah, with families, it's a feature, but it also relies on content. So you have to make sure you're getting the package which contains those family repertories in it. Anyway, we've got dealers and representatives in most areas of the world. So you can email them or phone them, and they can help you with that process of deciding what's best for you.
Absolutely. And
Synthesis app, it depends on whether you're going Android or Apple. Last time I checked, Apple was more expensive. It was 100 quid, but I think they put the price up, haven't they? I'll check.
Yeah.
Just open the App Store on your phone and search for synthesis plus the language that you speak, and it will come up. So for me, I type synthesis English, and it comes up there. And it won't
if
tell
I
me
can
the
jump in, Luke, basically, answer the question on the price. Guys, the way it works is we set a single price, and then Apple and Google actually change it themselves according to where you're in the world, what taxes your country pays, and what your currency is. So we just set one and then they do it automatically. That's why sometimes we struggle to tell you what the price is, not because we don't want to tell you, it's because we don't even know sometimes. They have a grid and they automatically do that. So that's how it works.
Yeah. And they don't change the amount that gets paid to the people who actually make the software.
No, not at all.
No,
It's off the
they're like, it's a recession. Let's charge everyone more. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you everyone for attending, and thank you, Frederik and Luke, so much for sharing your expertise and tips and tricks and helping us become better RadarOpus users so we can get the most out of everything. And again, just a reminder to everyone that this webinar will be available on the RadarOpus Academy within a couple of days, so feel free to check out that link, as well as keep an eye on any other content or videos you might be interested in learning more from there. If any of the features you were interested in today, interest you and you'd like to add those to your program, please contact your local coordinator so they can help you in doing that. And again, if you are in North America, because of JHC, we are having some special promotions running right now. So email us at orders@radaropus.us to find out exactly what those sales are. But without further ado, thank you everyone for being here. And thanks again, Frederik and Luke and Marco for hosting this. And yeah, thank you everyone for your time.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.